music or noise. The sound to which our ears respond might be classified as either music or noise.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to episode 21 of Low Limit Football. I am your host, Joe Usello. Joining me tonight, as usual, the best wingman in the business, Ben the Machine. Ben, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, Joe. Yourself?
Good. Glad to get back to it tonight, especially after missing last week. Our schedules just did not meld last week. There are a couple other hats that I wear. I am the co-chairman of a gala that we hold here in Connecticut to benefit the Spinal Cord Injury Association. And last Saturday we put on an event that was certainly the biggest one we'd ever put on. For those of you that are familiar with American football, we had Eric LeGrand as our guest speaker for the event and raised a little bit over $30,000 for the people of Connecticut with spinal cord injury. So needless to say, when you put on an event for 280 people, it's a little busy. And then my daughters were both in a wedding the following day, so certainly a hectic weekend, and just trying to get back into the swing of things is a little rough. But I'm glad to be back, man. I'm glad to get back at it and talk a little bit of football. I didn't get to watch much last weekend, and so that kind of stunk. But this week I got my fill between Champions League, Europa, all the leagues over the weekend. Even right now as I sit here doing the show, I've got the highlights from the French league on beIN Sport that I'm watching, and I just finished the Roma match against Udinese. So I'm excited to go. How about you, Ben? How was your 2 weeks?
Yeah, it's been pretty hectic actually, Joe. I mean, I've got a new girlfriend, so I've kind of been, I must admit, at the beginning of relationships, I like kind of spending a load of time with her. But yeah, apart from that, it was Blackburn Burnley, which we won't talk about. Blackburn lost 2-1 basically, and first time Blackburn have lost to Burnley in 35 years. So obviously they are all over. I belong to the Blackburn Burnley supporters Facebook page, and basically my whole Facebook's full up with Burnley fans abusing me. So that was kind of pretty much the end of Blackburn season. But you can't expect everything to be good. So anyway, we're good to go now, and I can't be too disappointed after 16th place last year, and I think we're in 9th. So.
Yeah, and they've had a decent show this year. For a while, they were actually, in a battle to make it up into the Premier League.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't want to speak too much about Blackburn, but we have had, I think they did like a showpiece on one of the championship shows saying that on average we've had 5.2 injured players every game this season. So realistically, that with the fact that we've got a new manager and we finished 16th last year, you can't really say that 5 points away from the playoffs is a bad season. So I think hopefully we get our players back, we get going next year, and we've got quite a young team as well. That's an extra season behind them, and we'll take a run at the playoffs next year, and hopefully we'll talk a little bit about Blackburn next season.
Right. Now, one thing I wanted to mention is that we don't have the call-in option this evening. A couple weeks ago we had episode 20 with Jeff Davis, who came on the show and talked to us about Tottenham. I don't have it on this week, but I do know Jeff wanted to come back on the show, so we're going to probably have the call-in option again next week, which I think, Ben, next week we better pack a lunch. It's going to be a very long show. So especially if we take one or two callers. I think you had somebody that was also a Tottenham supporter, who we'll talk about a little later, is going to come on and chat with us as well.
Yeah, hopefully next week we can get two Tottenham fans in, and hopefully we can get my friend to come on and talk a little bit about the England World Cup, because I'm going to be doing that next year as well, next week as well. So yeah, like Joe says, long show next week.
All right. So one thing I want to mention, before we kick it off into the leagues, Ben, you and I have been doing the predictions here for a little while. Predicting matches every week. And 2 weeks ago, we predicted. We had a couple of predictions, and I'll run through them quickly as well. In La Liga, we had predicted Valencia Bilbao 1-1 draw. In Ligue 1, we predicted Bordeaux with a 2-1 loss. I don't have who they were playing here, but we had predicted a Bordeaux.
It was Bordeaux-Lyon.
Bordeaux-Lyon. There, thank you. We had predicted Augsburg to beat Mönchengladbach. We predicted 2-1. In Serie A, we'd picked Parma to win to beat Hellas Verona 2-0, and we'd picked Chelsea to beat Spurs by 1-0. And we went 5 for 5, my friend. We had all 5 matches correct, at least by winners. And in the La Liga match, we actually had the draw, or you had the draw exactly right, 1-1. And I think history has repeated itself. But not to toot our own horn, we went 5 for 5, and we actually had a pretty good week this week as well, Ben. So why don't we let's jump into it. Let's get into Spain. Let's go through the scores, and we'll talk about the matches that we'd selected, plus the match of the week that we've got coming up, and go from there.
Yeah, quickly, just to double go over what Joe just said. Yeah, the Valencia 1, Atletico Bilbao 1 was the score I went for, and it was 1-1. So me and Joe both went for 1-1 there. This game has actually just finished, and we were frantically running about before the show finished just to try and get a little bit of information on this game. But yeah, it finished 1-1. Atletico Bilbao actually missed a penalty in the 39th minute. Artis Aduriz missing the penalty. And then 2 minutes after half time, Villarreal actually took the lead. Thomas Pina with a goal. And then 20 minutes into the second half, Gabriel Palisi got sent off, and obviously Villarreal playing with 10 men. And it looks like they held on quite well and held their own for most of the game. But unfortunately for them, 7 minutes to go. But fortunately for us, for the scorecast, Artis Aduriz made up for the penalty miss in the 39th minute and equalised 7 minutes to go, and it stayed like that. As far as the game goes, the statistics pretty much tell the story, really. It was a close game. Villarreal 8 shots, 3 on target, and Bilbao 7 shots, 4 on target. So it was quite a close game, not much in it, and that's pretty much what I expected, Joe. I was expected a score draw here, and I thought it was going to be quite a low scoring game, definitely under 2.5, sorry, and two closely matched teams, and that's how it matched up. And luckily for us, they finished within a whisker of the end of it. The game, before I go on to the scores, just double check this has gone through. Yeah, I'm going to preview Madrid-Barcelona after I go through this week's scores. I'm just going to run through this week's scores and not the ones from the week before, because otherwise it'll be a double-length show. But anyway, this week's scores, starting from this Friday just gone, we start off with Getafe drawing 3-3 with Granada, actually sending off for each in this game. So if anyone gets around to watching it, it's quite an interesting game. On Saturday, March the 15th, we had Levante losing 1-0 to Celta Vigo, Rayo Vallecano beating Almeria 3-1, Malaga losing 1-0 at home to Real Madrid, Cristiano Ronaldo scoring the goal for Real Madrid, and the same for Atletico Madrid, the guy you'd expect for them to score in the 1-0 win over Espanyol, Diego Costa with a goal. Moving on to Sunday, we had Elche drawing 0-0 with Real Betis, and then no doubt the scoreline of the weekend, Barcelona 7, Osasuna 0. We had Messi scored a hat-trick, Sanchez with 1, Iniesta with 1, Tello with 1, and Pedro with 1, I believe. So yes, a 7-0 win for Barcelona. Definitely back in the title race, and I'll run through the league quickly in a second. Rest of the goals for the day, Sevilla beating Real Valladolid 4-1, Real Sociedad beating Valencia 1-0, and then obviously we had today's game, which was 1-1. Just going to run through the table quickly, Joe, before we go into previewing El Clasico. Real Madrid top of the league, 70 points. And then Atletico Madrid following up in second place, 3 points behind. And then Barcelona in third place, 4 points behind. So we've got quite a tight top three there, 4 points in it. In fourth place, Atletico Bilbao, 15 points off of Barcelona. It looks kind of locked up, really. Everyone's chasing down that playoff position in the Champions League, even though Bilbao have got a game in hand and a 5-point lead, so you kind of expect it's Bilbao's now. Going into the Europa League spots, in fifth, we've got Real Sociedad on 46, and then Villarreal and Sevilla both on 44, both of which are 8 points clear of Valencia in 8th, so looking like those positions are locked up as well. If we go to the other end of the table, Real Betis on 19 points, 7 points adrift of the team above them, and actually 9 points adrift of 17th to stay outside of the relegation zone, so it looks like Real Betis are down. But the other two teams in the relegation zone, Almeria and Valladolid, both on 26 points, only separated by goal difference. And then we have a few teams above them quite close. Getafe, 2 points outside the relegation zone in 17th. Rayo Vallecano, 3 points clear on 29, along with Osasuna on 29 and Malaga on 29 in 14th. And then we have Elche in 13th and Granada on 31 in 12th, still only 5 points clear, so all the way up to 12th for those 2 spots. So realistically, we've got 8 teams playing for 2 spots for the relegation zone. So it's a very exciting league, Joe.
Ben, I was going to say, just going to cut in here real quick. Normally, when we try to pick our games of the week, we're looking for teams and matches up at the top of the division. I've got to think in Spain, we're going to start looking at from probably Granada down to the bottom, except for Real Betis, and looking at those games, because those matches are going to be very, very important moving forward for the elimination of teams being moved down from La Liga. So, I think it's Dr. Joe. Yeah, I think it's a definite point. I mean, if you look at this, the top 3 are quite close. Fourth place is adrift, and it looks like Europa League is locked in. So if there is definitely a league to focus on relegation, I do feel like it's this league. Unless obviously you've got El Clasico, you can't not preview that game, but I do believe it's the last time the top 3 play each other. So Joe's right. I will be focusing more on the bottom end of the Spanish league. I believe last match of the year is Barca Atletico.
Oh, really? They play them again? Oh, okay, I do apologise. But okay, so until the last game of the year, and we'll see from there. But I mean, the title race could all be over by then, Joe, and it might be meaningless. So you don't know. You never know with this league. But this seems to be the league that I get the results. I think I'm 3-4 on actual correct scorecast in the last 4 weeks from this league. So I don't know. I guess I seem to know a lot about Spain, Joe, for some reason. But yeah, we're going to look at the preview now of El Clasico. It's this Sunday 23rd.
I believe so, yes.
Obviously, it's sorry, something's gone into my eye. Yeah, it's Real Madrid at home versus Barcelona. Obviously, this is first versus third. Obviously, it's still biggest game in the Liga, and an absolute massive bearing on the league title. 3 teams in La Liga this year. I mean, we was a bit surprised by Atletico Madrid still being there, but they're there and they're there on merit, so we're going to include them. But apart from these 3 teams, they are, to me, you can see by the points difference, far superior in my mind. And, with 10 games left, looking at this league, I was looking at the run-ins actually, and seeing how far and how many points difference this is between Barcelona and Real Madrid. And because I feel like this league, once you get outside of the top 3, I'm not saying they're bad teams, Bilbao, Sociedad, Villarreal, they're not, but I do think that these 3 teams are a cut above now, and I'll include Atletico in that. And for me, I do think they're going to win the majority of their games left, so I do think this is a massive, massive game. And I do believe that with that in mind, I don't think really a draw is good enough for Barcelona here. I mean, I know they're away from home, but I think if Real get a point here, although they're at home and they're expected to win this game, I don't think the points are the end of the world for Real Madrid there, and I still think that Real can quite easily win the title if they draw. But I do think if Barcelona draw here, that's the title over for me. As far as the prediction for the game, I'm going to go through quickly what the bookies think before I say what I think. they're going for Real Madrid, slight favourites. Home advantage, you'd expect that. But El Clasico is always hard to call, Joe. They're never easy and straightforward. But I'm going to go for my favourite scoreline. I'm going to go for 1-1. I do think that if Real Madrid take a lead in this game, be it 1-0, 2-1, 3-2, whatever, I do think their usual attacking style, then maybe they're not going to attack quite as much as they would do. I'm not necessarily saying they're going to let Barcelona onto them, but I do think that you won't see them committing as many men forward as you would do if it was a different point situation. So I do think that, like I said before, Real know a point's not really an awful result, and I'm going to go with 1-1, Joe.
Right. Just looking at the preview of this match, obviously this is the biggest match on the board. This is probably the biggest match that we're going to see in the last 3 months in club football, even including the Champions League matches that we've already seen. So just looking at the last 6 matches between these two, Real Madrid has won 3, they've drawn 2, and Barca's won 1. Barca, the one that they won was the last match they played on October 26th, a 2-1 win at home against Real Madrid. Just calling up the stats on that one as well just now, we had Neymar score in the 19th minute and Alexis Sanchez in the 78th. Hesse added a goal in the 90th minute to kind of, even up the scoring line, but Barca held the possession 55-45 with 5 shots on goal versus 6 for Real Madrid. So again, 2 evenly matched teams, and they played this at the Nou Camp. I kind of agree with you. I do believe though that the match that was played this weekend by Barcelona, the 7-0 win, was really a statement. It was, what, we've figured this out. We know we lost a couple of our previous matches here, but we've figured this out. We know what we're doing, and we're going to Madrid, and we're going to play our best match. You also want to look at the fact that Barca doesn't have a Champions League match this week. Although the match that Real Madrid, that we'll talk about a little later on against Schalke, is really more of a formality. It's really more of a 90-minute formality than anything else. And really, the Real Madrid, I'd be shocked if you saw guys like Cristiano Ronaldo playing and Isco playing and those guys. I really think Real Madrid at home with a 6 road goal advantage against Schalke is going to put out the B squad. I don't see them.
Of course. I do think another thing that probably only Jose Mourinho is thinking about, in fairness, but if Barcelona do turn Real Madrid over here, then there's a big mental part to play in this, because then it's only 1 point, and do Real Madrid really go into the next game? And is that in the back of your mind? Of course, it's in the back of your mind. So for me, this is a massive game, and I think this game does decide the title. I honestly do. I think if Real Madrid win or draw, they win the La Liga title. I do think Barcelona. Did you say it's at the Nou Camp, Joe? The Barcelona game?
No, the previous match was at the Nou Camp. This match is at
no, the Barcelona Atletico Madrid last game of the season.
Oh, I didn't look.
Did you?
I can take a look while I know that they play again. I didn't look.
Yeah, could you have a quick look for me? Just because it's
Let me call it up here real quick.
Yeah, it's okay. But yeah, like I was saying, this is a massive game for me. I know Barcelona have got a really tough game the end of the season, but you could see that if Barcelona win this game, this could be the swing that's possibly needed for them to go on and take this the Liga title. And like I said, Real Madrid, I do think a point, although they won't play for a point is not the worst result at this stage of the season. Atletico Madrid won't be able to catch them for that week. They'll still be a point behind, and they'll know that Barcelona's still got to play Atletico, and Real Madrid know that if they can win their last 9 games, they'll be fine. So to me, it's a massive game.
To me, if Real Madrid, I think in the back of their mind, has to know that if they beat Barcelona at home on this one, they eliminate them and they make it a 2-team race for the title. That match at the end of the season on May 18th is in the Nou Camp. So Barca's at home on that one. And Barca's really, other than Villarreal on April 27th on the road, they've got Getafe at home, which they should win. They've got Elche on the road, which they should win. And then Atletico, they really need this match. I think if they take this match, if Barca can win here, I really think they can take the points across the board all the way to that Atletico and really put Real Madrid on the hot seat and and put Atletico on the hot seat as well, with maybe that match
Yeah.
at the end of the month or the end of the season being that final, that final to decide the winner of La Liga. So
Yeah, I do believe that. I do think that. But I do think this title race is going to come down to experience. I've been, I know we kind of wrote off Atletico at the beginning of the year. I still don't think that they've got enough experience. I think I know 10 games to go, but when it really, really counts, those last 2 or 3 games, is it going to get inside their head? Possibly. Will it get inside their head more than Madrid and Barcelona? Definitely. So for me, I'm going to stick my neck on the line and say this match will decide the title. Yeah.
I would agree as well. So all right, so we got 1-1 Real Madrid Barcelona. And
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave it at that. I think we both made predictions this week because we didn't give a show, so we both
Yeah.
made predictions. So we'll go back to our normal routine here. It saves me the typing. So let's move on into France. And one thing that I wanted to mention this week in France. Obviously, we'll preview our matches. I thought the officiating. I did watch a couple of matches this weekend. I did watch the PSG Saint Etienne match for a little bit, and I also watched the. Where is it here? The Monaco Lyon match for a little bit. I thought the officiating was horrible. I've got to say, the Monaco.
Really?
And yeah, just jumping ahead of the scores here quickly. Monaco beat Lyon 3-2. 2 of the goals, one of them Dimitar Berbatov scored, and the other one he assisted on, and he was offsides on both. And that was part one. The other one was in the PSG match. Zlatan Ibrahimovic, his first goal was offsides, and now the Saint Etienne player kind of played it back a little bit. The way it looked in real speed, it looked like a deflection. In slow mo, it looked like it was a little more deliberate. But just the fact that he was in offsides position, the official actually raised his flag to call the offsides. Play went on for about a minute and then lowered his flag, and it was just total chaos. Ibrahimovic capitalizes, and it was just a mess. So. I think that I thought the officiating was absolutely terrible for this for this particular week. So let's move on into the scores, and then we'll talk about our match of the week and in our preview. So starting on Friday, March 14th, we had Stade de Reims with a 1-1 draw against Marseille. On Saturday, we had Toulouse with a 3-2 win over Stade Rennes. Sochaux with a 2-0 win over Lorient. Nice 2-0 over Bastia. Valenciennes 1-0 over Evian. Guingamp 2-1 over Ajaccio. Lille and Nantes 0-0 draw. Again, I keep harping on Lille. They should have picked up a striker. And on Sunday, PSG 2-0 over Saint Etienne. Monaco on the road 3-2 over Lyon. And Montpellier 1-1 draw with Bordeaux, closing out the scores. Our match that we had predicted, and let me just go back into my list here and find it quickly. The match that we had was the PSG Saint Etienne match. Ben, you'd predicted 2-0. I predicted 3-1. You got it exactly right on the money. A Zlatan Ibrahimovic goal in the 14th minute and a Ibrahimovic goal in the 41st minute. Ibrahimovic also almost scored a third, snuck it through the wall, and it deflected off the wall and just wide. It was fantastic, the shot. But in this match, we had PSG with a 55% possession advantage. Shots were 15-14 with a 4-6 on goal. So Saint Etienne actually outshot them on goal 6-4. And again, Ibrahimovic as normal, man of the match, 2 goals, really making the difference. Great play too in this match. That, like I said, that I saw from Yohan Cabaye. Cavani, I thought had a great match as well. I look at this team, Ben, and they are in the driver's seat to move on in the Champions League. I know we don't talk about them. I know we talk about Bayern Munich, and we talk about the French league not being as strong. I've really got to think that these guys, with Thiago Silva and Alex in the back line, Cabaye now in there, Matuidi in the midfield, and then they run the front line. They play a 4-3-3 with a front line of Lavezzi, Ibrahimovic, and Cavani, and they're all healthy, and they're all fantastic strikers. Why can't these guys win the Champions League? I mean, I really feel like this team is somebody we should be talking about a lot more.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, that you stick them above the teams like Manchester United, Olympiacos, definitely. But for me, it's kind of, I don't know. It's going to come down a little bit to experience. I do think at this stage of the season, I do say it a lot, and I do think you need it. That having that been there before, because even the best players on their day, they get nervous, and obviously the more experienced players you got, then the more experienced you are as a unit. But still saying that, like you're saying, PSG they will give any team a game, and they're not gonna by any means be embarrassed by any of the teams left in the Champions League. Um, I do think the Champions League will be a bit, a bridge too far for them. But at the same time, this is another team that I do feel in the coming years is going to be a stronger force. I think there's only going to be more money invested there, most probably, and they've had a lot of influx of players over the last 2 to 3 years, and you've got to get that like what Manchester United had, the real cohesion between the team, and get the new players coming in and all playing together as a unit, which it looks like they are. But once they get that experience of playing at this high level, Champions League level, then who's to say, in a few years' time that people won't be speaking about them from the beginning, rather than just saying, are they a dark horse now?
I've got to tell you, I think moving forward, because granted these two teams are through, I would love to see either a quarterfinal or a semifinal of PSG Real Madrid. And I would love to see the rematch of Ibrahimovic versus Cristiano Ronaldo, kind of that replay from the Portugal-Sweden play-in match moving into the World Cup, to qualify. I would love to see a rematch of those two players with these two teams. I think that those I don't even think you could do Bayern Munich and Barcelona and be as interesting as you would be PSG and Real Madrid. For some reason I feel like this team is kind of the 800-pound gorilla in the room that we don't want to talk about, but I think they might be strong enough to maybe pull an upset and surprise us. They have a strong goaltending in Sirigu. They have a very strong back line. They have a decent midfield. They have a very, very strong attacking front line. They're dynamic. I really think they could do it.
Well, you heard it here first. If Joe's tipping them, just quickly while you go through the rest of the scores. I don't know if that's the end of it or but you're going to preview it. But I'm going to just bring it up because everyone knows that I like to to let people know what the odds are. But I'm just going to quickly have a look and see what PSG are to win the Champions League.
Okay. So
just in case, well, go on, carry on, Joe, and I'll get the odds.
While you're doing that, I will look up. I'll hit the tables. So we'll cover the tables, and then we'll hopefully you'll have that stat. PSG leading the way. This is after 29 matches, 70 points on a plus 51 goal differential. They are firmly in control of this league. Monaco in second place, 8 points adrift at 62. Lille, and they're firmly in control of second place, which is the second Champions League position. Lille is in the playoff position at 53 points. They've actually separated themselves a little bit from Saint Etienne. These guys were within 1 point of each other. Saint Etienne now on 48 points. And Lyon just outside the Europa zone at 45 points, so there's still a little bit to play for there. Marseille on 44, Stade Reims at 43, and Toulouse at 42. You're looking at those are probably the only teams that have a shot at catching Saint Etienne, although Saint Etienne is a very, very strong team, especially at home, so I don't see that happening. Propping up the bottom of the table, Ajaccio now at 15 points, only 2 wins on the season, minus 28 goal differential. They are pretty much guaranteed out. They are 10 points adrift of Sochaux at 25. Valenciennes at 28 points. Then outside the relegation zone, we have Evian at 30. Stade Reims at 31. Nantes at 33. Montpellier at 34. And Guingamp at 35 points. So looking at probably up to Nantes could fall into that relegation position, being only 5 points out of the relegation zone. But I don't see Nantes really doing it. I think Stade Reims and Evian are really going to have to watch out for Valenciennes and see what happens over these last 10 matches or so to see if they can be caught. So that is the table in Paris. Do you have your stat, Ben?
I do, yes. They're full favourites actually above Chelsea, slightly for the Champions League. Paris Saint-Germain are 12-1.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, well.
Who obviously Bayern Munich leads the way.
It's Bayern Munich best price at 2-1. Barcelona 4-1. Real Madrid also 4-1. And then they're saying Paris Saint-Germain are 3 times less likely than PSG, Joe. So
Wow.
Anyone out there that listens to the show, I mean, we don't do bad, Joe, do we? Really? I mean, someone's making money of us, surely. So,
I
you know,
hope.
anyone wants to, it's better than playing the lottery, Joe, surely. But yeah,
Absolutely.
you,
So
you heard it here first, anyway.
that's right. If I take PSG in the points, I guess. So moving on to this week's featured match, we have a pretty good one this week. We have number 2 Monaco versus number 3 Lille. This match, I believe, is being played in. Just taking a look here quickly, I missed it. I believe it's at Monaco. And looking over the last 6 matches between these two, Lille has actually won 5 of the last 6, although the previous matches, aside from the match played in March of 2013, I'm sorry, November 3rd of 2013, they previously played in 2011, 2 matches in 2010, and 2 matches in 2009. So not quite an accurate assessment of the two teams. We are looking at Lille over their last 6 matches, 3 wins, 3 draws. Monaco over their last 6, 4 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss. Again, we've talked about Lille and their outstanding goaltender, Vincent Nyema. They have Solomon Kalou, who is leading the way with 10 goals on the team. And you look at the Monaco team, Monaco is actually still being led in goals by Radamel Falcao, whose story came out this week that it looks like he's on track to actually play in the World Cup, believe it or not. I still find it difficult to believe. Emmanuel Riviere also leading the way with 9 goals. And, they come with strong players like Moutinho and, decent side here. They're playing the match in Monaco. I hate to pick that draw. They've got Monaco to win or draw the match as the favorite. And Monaco's undefeated in 13 of their last 14 home matches in Ligue 1. And it's just tough to pick this one. I hate to pick Monaco over Lille, but I'm going to go ahead and do it. I'm going to take Monaco 1-0 over Lille in this match, Ben. I think it'll be a very tight game. It'll probably, by all accounts, be a very boring game, I think. But I don't see how Lille is going to escape Monaco with any type of points. So I'm going to go Monaco 1-0, and that will be the French league for us, Ben. Do you want to head over to Germany?
Yeah, we'll go straight over to Germany. Sorry. Yeah, we'll go over to the Bundesliga. We're just going to quickly talk about the prediction first. The 2 weeks ago prediction, first of all. I had Mönchengladbach to lose 1-0 to Augsburg. They actually lost 2-1 to Augsburg, so I had the correct result and the correct amount of goals to be won by, but obviously out by a goal. Actual last week's predictions, we couldn't choose between Augsburg and the Schalke game and Bayern Munich by Leverkusen, so we predicted both. I went for 2-1 Augsburg against Schalke. Joe went for 1-1. It actually finished 2-1 to Schalke. So although Joe was wrong, he was nearer. As far as the Bayern Munich Leverkusen game, me and Joe both went for 3-0 Munich, and it ended up 2-1 to Munich. I'll talk about the Munich game first, since we went through the scores. Like I said, me and Joe both we predicted 3-0. But fair play to Leverkusen. I didn't expect this from them, but they really did come and they really did compete. I know the stats will say otherwise. Bayern Munich 78% possession, 23 shots, 8 on target. Leverkusen obviously only 22% and 6 and 3 shots. But this was a good display really by Leverkusen. They didn't. I mean, although it's a bit hard to say they didn't look outplayed, because not many teams can play against Bayern Munich, especially away from home, and say they don't look outplayed. But in fairness, by Leverkusen, they look like the next level below Munich in this division, and I think that's fair enough, really. But as far as Munich goes, this is 50 Bundesliga matches without a defeat, and they've opened up a 23-point gap now. That is Borussia Dortmund losing 2-1, so now it's 23 points. So obviously it's getting harder and harder for them. Mario Mandzukic headed Bayern in front just before half time. Just before having to only wait 7 minutes in the second half before Schweinsteiger curled in an amazing 30-yard free kick. If you get a chance to see it, Joe, watch it. It's it's one of those free kicks to die for. Gives them their 17th league win in a row. And then Kiesling scoring a last-minute consolation goal for Leverkusen, which was fair on them, really. I didn't think they deserved to lose by 2 goals, so no one can really argue with that too much. and Leverkusen actually the last team to beat Bayern in the Bundesliga when they beat them 2-1 in October 2012. Like I said, 50 games in a row unbeaten, and in the league 23 points clear. 71 points from 25 games this year, Joe. 2 more victories, and that's it. The Bundesliga's theirs.
And they've only given up 12 goals.
Yeah, I know. It's unbelievable the fact that we're in March, Joe. It's the 17th. I'm not going to do the silly rhyme to remember how many days there are. 31 days in March. Yeah. So theoretically, Joe, before we even get into April, this could be over. We could not be doing Bayern Munich anymore. With Dortmund losing 2-1, this is what's it's called the 6-point swing. But yeah, still unbeaten, Joe. I said unlikely in two. It's likely, that we'll be congratulating them in 2 weeks' time, giving them more superiorities. But what I was going to say to you, Joe, I made a little note about this because this was something that came through my head when I was doing the research. Because believe it or not, me and Joe, we don't have full up brains full of football. We do need to occasionally look online. But as far as the Champions League goes, Joe, I mean, obviously Bayern Munich favourites. We're not arguing that. But one thing that strikes me is, does this give Bayern Munich even more of an edge in the Champions League? Say they do win this league in two games' time, which is not impossible. You would expect Bayern Munich to go to any team and be favourite. So they win those 2 games, and then from April onwards, they don't. I do believe they're in one of the cups still. I'm not sure. I must admit, I don't really look that much into the German cups. I will find out for you guys. But they could theoretically play a second string in any games in and around any Champions League games. And is that too much, considering Barcelona are going to be chasing down these teams? Madrid are going to have something to play for. PSG are going to have something to play for. And then you consider how good they already are. And do you think it gives them more of an edge, Joe? Do you think that it makes them more dangerous?
It's difficult to say. There's always 2 arguments about a team wrapping things up too early or closing things out way too early. One is you get to rest your players, you don't risk the injury, you get them healthy, and you get them focused for the task at hand, which is winning the Champions League. So from that standpoint and that point of view, yes, it is definitely something that is a huge benefit. On the flip side, players get rusty. They don't get used to playing. They don't get used to playing at game speed. It becomes something that they're just not accustomed to, quote unquote. So they don't play as well, or when they do step into those big time matches, they have difficulty. I think I'm a believer of the former. I'm a believer of the fact that you get to take these guys, you take them off the field, you don't have to play them as much, so you give Arjen Robben a day off. You put him on the bench, he's on the 23-man squad, but he doesn't play. You take Philipp Lahm, he gets a day off. Schweinsteiger takes a day off. Even take Neuer, give him a day off. Whatever.
Yeah.
You're not doing it to where you're giving them weeks off, where you're giving them 2 or 3 weeks off, and they're still training during the week. But you've got a game against Augsburg, you've got a game against Wolfsburg, you've got a game against Eintracht. What you do is just pull them off and say, okay, you're not going to play today. You 3 are not going to play today at all. You 3 are going to play 40 minutes, or you're going to play 30 minutes, and just keep them a little sharp. And then the guys that plays, so you've got let's say a group of 9 players, okay? So you don't count Neuer, 9 or 10 players. 3 guys are going to play the whole match. 3 guys are going to play the first 45. 3 guys are going to play the second 45, and you just rotate with the B squad. And you don't have to focus on it. And I think if you do it that way, and I'm sure Pep Guardiola's, he's not a dumb guy. He's a guy that is, he's won multiple trophies. I'm sure this is going through his head saying, you know what, we need to kind of pull these guys back, give them a little rest. And to be honest with you, if I'm the Dutch national team and I'm the German national team, I'm glad Bayern is doing this early in the season. I'm glad this
of course, yeah.
Now I don't have to worry about him putting Robben out there and getting injured or getting worn out or just being tired stepping into the World Cup. I have a fresh Arjen Robben. Are you kidding me? That'd be the greatest thing ever. The Germans must be out of their minds happy. The only guy they're worried about Mesut Ozil, and they can deal with that. It's certainly an advantage for that part of the big picture as well. So I think Pep Guardiola is smart enough to slow these things down. when we get to a week before a big Champions League match, we get the whole squad on the field. We get the whole squad on the field for at least 60 minutes. We make sure that we're all playing together and we're playing together well. You got to remember, they've turned into that tiki-taka style team, and that kind of thing is repetitive. So you need to be able to work together and work together and work together and know where you need to make those runs and make those quick passes. I think this is a good thing for Guardiola. I think he will definitely know how to handle this to make everything right, and this just makes Bayern that much stronger, and it's that much more fearful moving in. So.
Yeah, I do agree that. Also, he has the advantage that if they know they've got a Champions League game coming up on the Wednesday, not to play them at all on the Saturday, and then do what you said for the rest of it. So, and I think if you wanted anyone to do this kind of man, I mean, we had to talk about managers a few weeks ago who is and who's not the best in the world, but either way you look at it, Pep Guardiola is world class, and I'm sure he knows what to do. But to have that option, Joe, it's got to be the dream. It has to be the dream for them. I mean, they can do enough without doing too much, and I don't think any of the other teams can. And for me, it is the reason why they are 2-1 and Barcelona 4-1. But anyway, we're just going to move on to the rest of the scores. Before we do tend to talk a lot about Bayern Munich every week, Joe. I know it's hard not to, but yeah, you can blame it on us. Anyway, the first game on the Friday was the Augsburg-Schalke game, which actually was the game, I believe, the game that we predicted. Did we predict one? No, we didn't.
We did.
We did do a score on this. We didn't do an actual review. That's where it was confusing me. There's a lot of talk about Augsburg of late. Yeah, we did do predictions for this. Sorry, everybody. Before we go through the Friday's score, the Augsburg-Schalke. I had Augsburg to beat Schalke 2-1. Joe, I know I did say this at the beginning, but we're just going to refresh it quickly. Joe had a 1-1 draw. It actually finished 2-1 Schalke. So yeah, we both got that one wrong. Going on to Saturday's game, Borussia Dortmund losing 2-1 at home to Borussia Mönchengladbach. Mönchengladbach playing the last 21 minutes with 10 men as well. So poor result there really for Borussia Dortmund, and that's what's opened up this 2-week potential title win. Hertha Berlin losing 3-0 at home to Hanover. TSG Hoffenheim losing 4-2 at home to Mainz. And TSV Eintracht Brunswick drawing 1-1 with Wolfsburg. Werder Bremen drawing 1-1 with Stuttgart. If we go over to Sunday's games and finish up the weekend, we had Hamburg beating Nuremberg 2-1 and Eintracht Frankfurt losing 4-1 at home to Freiburg. Just going to have a quick look at the league before we preview next week's games. Bayern Munich on 71 points leading the way. Then it's all the way back to Borussia Dortmund, 48 points and 23 points below. Also significantly a 35 worse goal difference in 25 games. Seems impossible, but anyway, 48 points to second. And then Schalke on 47 points, only 1 point away from Dortmund. And then we go back to Leverkusen in the playoff zone, 3 points behind Schalke, but still only 4 points away from second, so it's still quite a close league. And then we fall back to Mainz, who are in 5th position, 3 points away from the playoff Champions League zone. And then we have Wolfsburg on 44 points away from the playoff zone. And then we can see it goes back to 7th, Borussia Mönchengladbach on 39 points, and Augsburg on 38. And even going down to Augsburg at 38, they've been in a good run of form lately, Joe. They're still 6 points away from that Champions League playoff zone, but probably more importantly, 2 points away from the Europa League. But it's still a very tight league. We'll talk about that in a second. Going to the bottom of the league, Joe, this is another place that is tight. This is why the German league, apart from the top one, seems to be a very enthralling league. But we'll start from the bottom at this end. TSV, bottom of the league, 18 points. Stuttgart, second bottom, 21 points. Then in the playoff relegation zone, we have Freiburg on 22, 1 point out the actual relegation. And then we have Nuremberg clear of the playoff relegation by 1 point from Freiburg on 23. And then we also have Hamburg, the same on 23 points. And then Eintracht Frankfurt, 26, 4 points off the playoff. And then Werder Bremen, probably safe, but 7 points away from the playoff zone. The game we're going to preview this week is Wolfsburg-Augsburg, which is very fun to say if you've been drinking tonight. Thankfully I haven't. But yeah, it's the third week in a row for Augsburg, Joe. We'll talk about them exactly second what it means to them. But yes, it's this Saturday, 22nd. Wolfsburg 6th, Augsburg in 8th. Wolfsburg in the last Europa League spot. They're 1 point clear, and they're only actually 4 points adrift of Leverkusen in the playoff Champions League place. So obviously a lot to play for Wolfsburg. Augsburg are 2 points behind Wolfsburg, chasing down the Europa League place. So this is another big 6-pointer, Joe. Wolfsburg still a real decent chance at the Europa League here. Wolfsburg outside chance of the Champions League, and if not, a chance to cement the Europa League place. Like I said, big 6-pointer. Obviously, Wolfsburg are going to go into this match as favourites, higher in the league, home advantage. But one thing I've got to say, I don't think there's going to be more than a goal in this game, whichever way it does end up going. But the bookies tend to think that both teams are going to score in this game. I disagree with that. I think it's going to be a really slow, tight game. And I'm going to say 1-0 Wolfsburg, which is 12-1 on Betfair if anyone wants to go put some on it, Joe.
Yeah, the thing with the Augsburg side is that they've been kind of hovering right in that play-in to the Europa League. And so they're playing big matches. They've been playing. Just looking at their last few matches, their most recent matches in February, March: Stuttgart, Nuremberg, Freiburg, Hanover, Mönchengladbach, Schalke, Wolfsburg, and then after this Augsburg-Wolfsburg game, next week they have Leverkusen. So they're playing a piece of their schedule where they can actually do some damage to some teams. And by winning or drawing or at least picking up points, they can move themselves into these Europa spots. And they're still within plenty of striking distance. They're only 2 points outside of Europa. They can still do it. I think aside from the relegation playoff position in this particular league, this Augsburg, Mönchengladbach, Wolfsburg, Mainz, and Leverkusen, they're all separated by just 6 points. I think this is probably the most interesting match in Germany at this point. Bayern is done. Dortmund and Schalke are within 1 point of each other, and they're both in the Champions League zone. I don't think there's going to be much of an issue there. Leverkusen is 44 points. They're only 3 points outside of that Champions League, but they're in the playoff position. And when you look at Mainz is actually 6 points out of Schalke and outside of that solid Champions League position. I don't think they can catch. So Mainz and Wolfsburg really have to do what they can to hold on to these two Europa positions. And you've got Mönchengladbach and Augsburg are the two teams fighting them for it. So I think that's really part of the more interesting part of the German league right now is watching this particular race unfold with about 10 matches to go.
Yeah, I agree with you. Augsburg, it amazes me really. They seem to have come from nothing and put a decent run together. And like we said, this is the third week in a row they've been mentioned. And if you can get to be the game of the week on our show 3 weeks in a row, then you're obviously doing something right. And wish them all the luck in the world. But like I say, this Wolfsburg team is a decent team. And like I said, this is going to be a close game. And like I said, there won't be more than the goal in this game. I very much doubt that. But I do think it will be low scoring. I really do. So I think 1-0 either way is probably the bet. But I'm going to take Wolfsburg.
Yeah, and think about it. Next week, it's Augsburg Leverkusen. So we're probably going to be talking about them again next week as well.
Yep.
Yeah. So, all right.
And on and on.
And on until sometime in May. So let's move on to Italy. Let's first look at our prediction for last week for Italy, which was Hellas Verona Internazionale. Ben, you had this as 1-0. I had it as 2-1, both in favor of Inter. And luckily, that's going to be our first match because I believe they played that match. Let me take a look here quickly. They did play it. It was the only match played on Saturday. And we both got it right in terms of the winner. It was 2-0 Inter over Hellas Verona. Just going into...
Well,
go ahead.
If we put us together, Joe, you got the right amount of goals and I got the right amount of goals again. So between us, we got it right.
There we go. So just looking at the match statistics quickly, in the 13th minute, Rodrigo Palacio with a goal to put Inter up 1-0. Jonathan in the 63rd to make it 2-0 and close it out as well. No red cards in this match. We had yellows to Cambiaso, Albertazzi, and Massimo Donati. And looking into the stats of this match, Inter with a slight possession advantage, 51-49. Shots were 18-10 in favor of Inter, with a 7-4 shot on goal advantage. Also, Inter hitting the post twice in this match. It's something that this Inter team really, since the failed Vucinic transfer back in December and January, really started to put it back together again. And looking at the tables quickly, they are in the Europa League playoff position in 5th place currently. They're 10 points or 11 points back of Napoli. I don't think anyone's going to catch Napoli for the Champions League, but they do have something to play for. You're looking at 6 points ahead of Lazio. They're solidly in that Europa position. Many of the races in Italy, in my opinion, are pretty much finished at this point. But they are an interesting side to watch. To watch a guy like Freddy Guarin, who was on the chopping block there, now to come back in and play well. 4 shots on goal in this match for Freddy Guarin. It's interesting to see this Milan team sort of be the class of Milan itself, when we look at AC Milan versus them. AC Milan having all the drama, Inter just winning the matches. So, and this Hellas Verona team, who really started out strong with guys like Luca Toni, fallen off the pace quite a bit. Luca Toni had a terrible game in this one as well. So, it's unfortunate. They were riding pretty strong in the league itself. So, again, we got the result right, Ben, between you and I. It just the score is a little off. But let's continue on. That was your Saturday match. Moving into Sunday, Juventus with a 1-0 win over Genoa on an 89th minute free kick stunner from Andrea Pirlo. I mean, Ben, the guy doesn't age, and he just seems to play big in big spots. You had also a penalty saved by Gigi Buffon in this one. Just amazing, and Juventus just keeps on rolling on. So Juventus 1, Genoa 0. Fiorentina 3-1 over Chievo. Sassuolo 3-1 over Catania in a battle of the bottom. Livorno 2-1 over Bologna. Lazio on the road 2-0 over Cagliari. AC Milan losing at home to Parma 4-2, and this one had an absolutely brilliant goal by Amauri with kind of a back heel flick that went through the goaltender's legs. This one, Abbiati was sent off for a hard tackle, and Amauri scores a beautiful, beautiful goal to take the lead just after Balotelli scored a penalty kick to tie it up at 2. So Milan, for all their flair and drama, really still falling off the pace here, and not going to be playing for anything coming up next year. It's going to be kind of sad to watch. Atalanta 3-0 over Sampdoria. And just finishing today, Roma with a 3-2 win over Udinese, and Napoli with a 1-0 win over Torino. So looking at the tables quickly, and then we'll preview our match of the week. We have Juventus still leading the way, 75 points plus 45 goal differential. They are 17 points clear of Roma, although Roma has 2 matches at hand. Roma and Napoli tied at 58 points. Roma in the Champions League position, Napoli in the playoff position. So both of these teams are going to get in. Behind them, Fiorentina on 48 points, 10 points back. Inter on 47, Parma on 46. Then moving out of the Europa positions, Lazio on 41 points, Hellas Verona on 40. Just looking back to finding that AC Milan team there on 35 points, 11th place tied with Genoa. Bringing up the bottom of the table, Catania now in the solid bottom end, 20 points minus 28 goal differential. Sassuolo, after beating Catania this week, 21 points minus 28. Bologna in the last position, 23 points minus 20. Then 1 point outside of the relegation zone are Livorno on 24 points and Chievo on 24 points as well. So, and then moving all the way up to Cagliari at 29 points. I think Cagliari is probably safe at this point. So we've really got 5 teams playing to stay out of 3 positions is what it comes down to. 5 teams separated by 4 points at the bottom of the table. I think Juventus is solidly going to win this division. I think Roma and Napoli are going to keep their Champions League positions, and I think your Europa teams are going to be Fiorentina, Internazionale, and Parma. I don't see Lazio being able to put it together, even with the likes of Miroslav Klose, to sneak in. So, Ben, I think from here on out, it's going to be tough to find a compelling match to talk about in Italy unless we've got like a Juventus-Roma or Roma-Napoli or something like that. We have a good one this week, But it's. I think this is another league where we're going to be looking at
Yeah,
those
it
relegation
does
zones.
seem that. I mean, if Palmer win their game in hand, then you do kind of feel like 6 points is a bit too much to surmount
Mm,
for the Europa League places, and then obviously the Fiorentina to Napoli, that it doesn't look like they're going to be caught. Um,
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm kind of. I know you are as well, Joe, because you're a Juve fan. But I'm kind of hoping Roma, lose their game in hand, so we can keep the last Champions League place that's not playoff to play for. And we only leave 3 points between Napoli and Roma.
The two games Roma has at hand are against Parma and against Udinese. Udinese is one of those teams that right now they're 31 points. They are 14th in the league, but for some reason the likes of Antonio Di Natale for that team, the old man, he just another guy that every once in a while just manages to give you that spark of brilliance. They're not an easy side to beat, so definitely not a gimme for Roma against Udinese. And Parma again, they're in that Europa League position, another team that's not a gimme. So, you could potentially see Roma, and they're not playing very well as of right now. You could potentially see Roma maybe drawing one of those matches and really making this Napoli Roma race for that second position, that automatic spot, a little bit of a race. We might be watching that a little closer, moving further in. So
Yeah,
um,
there's still 10 games to go, so.
there is. So let's move into the match of the week that we've chosen, and we have chosen Napoli at home against Fiorentina. Napoli really dominating this fixture. They're 3 wins and 3 draws. Fiorentina has not beaten them yet. Fiorentina again without Giuseppe Rossi, who up until his injury was leading the Serie A in goal scoring. And I think, and even just looking at it now, he's been out now, been 6 to 8 weeks, somewhere in that ballpark. He's still leading Fiorentina's goal scoring, 14 goals. And the second place is Valero and Quadrado, who scored a very nice goal this week with 5 goals each. So they're really missing Giuseppe Rossi, and that's probably the
Yeah.
reason why they're not challenging Napoli and Roma for that Champions League position. But
I think most teams would miss Giuseppe Rossi, so
mm,
you can't especially once you get down to these kind of Europa League places. These teams are not as deep as the other teams around them. Like maybe slightly above them, so you kind of got to give them an olive branch there, really.
certainly, and a side like Napoli is playing very well. They won their match this week. Looking at Napoli's last 6 matches, they are 4 wins and 4 draws. Just looking through their scores, they beat Torino. They beat Roma 1-0 a couple weeks ago. They drew Livorno, which is kind of an upset, and they drew Genoa, but they also beat Sassuolo 2-0, and they beat AC Milan 3-1. So they're playing very well overall, this Napoli side. Fiorentina, on the other hand, obviously beating Chievo last week, but losing to Juventus 1-0, and that match, that 1-0 loss, was in league. We'll talk about Europa in a little bit. They've lost to Lazio. They drew Parma, and they also lost to Inter before previously beating Atalanta. So, 2 wins, 1 draw, 3 losses in their last 6. Napoli's undefeated in their last 6. And, guys like Callejon and Higuain playing very, very well for them. They've got Des Mertens and Hamzik and Pandev. When we look through the forward and the front line and the midfield is Napoli's side, fantastic team. They're, and Napoli is actually undefeated in 13 of their last 14 matches in the Serie A. So I'm going to take Napoli to win this match 2-0. I don't see Fiorentina doing it. Maybe Fiorentina sneaks a goal in. I don't think so. I think in this one you're going to definitely see a Fiorentina loss, and Napoli just kind of keeping pace or trying to keep pace with Juve and Roma to stay in those Champions League positions and maybe challenge for the title. So that is going to be our prediction for this week for the Serie A and our Serie A recap as well. So Ben, finish us off with the English.
We're just gonna go through the 2-week prediction result first. I know Joe did say it quickly at the beginning, but I had Chelsea to beat Tottenham 1-0. Obviously it finished 4-0, so that was still one of the games. I will say the predictions for this week that me and Joe had, and then we'll go through the actual match I'm going to do for this week. But the 2 matches we decided to do predictions on last week, Joe. When there wasn't a show, we had the two derbies: Manchester United, Liverpool, and Tottenham, Arsenal. For the Manchester United Liverpool game, I went for a 1-1 draw. Joe went for 2-1 to Liverpool. Obviously, it finished 3-0, Joe. I'm going to talk about that in a second. As far as the North London derby, Tottenham Arsenal, I went for 1-1 again. Joe went for 2-1 again. Actually finished 1-0 to Arsenal, and possibly one of the most boring games you'll ever see. But the game I want to talk about, Joe, we're going to go straight on and talk about the Man United Liverpool games because we just spoke about it, and then I'll run through the rest of the league and we'll do the previews, etc., etc. Obviously, I went for 1-1 here, Joe. You went for 2-1. I do blow my own trumpet when I get it right, so I'm going to do the exact same thing. I've got to give Joe his props. He got both derby results right, and if you ask anybody, predicting derby games is usually harder than predicting any league. So well done, Joe. But really, Joe, this is a surprise to me. I mean, okay, you got the result right, but I mean, you still had it 2-1. Like, for them to win 3-0, I think it's a surprise to everyone, really, that Liverpool went to United, took United to pieces, and missed a penalty, beating them 3-0. I don't know if you've got anything to say about it, Joe, quickly before I run through the game, but did this surprise you?
You know, it didn't entirely surprise me. What surprised me in this match, because I did actually get to watch this one, and what surprised me in this match is how sloppy United was defensively. I mean, just unbelievably sloppy. And the thing is, the penalties that were awarded that Steven Gerrard took, they were all correct calls. It wasn't like they were dives or something crazy. Like, they were all correct calls. The handball against Rafael, there was the shove in the back. I can't remember who did it, and I'm trying to remember what the third penalty was. I think it was a trip. But
Yeah, I've actually.
No, I'm sorry. You know what? The third one was incorrect. It was a Sturridge trip.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, a little
I
bit
think
of a
they're
dive.
going to try and rescind the card as well. I expect it to be anyway. It was a second yellow for Vidic, but yeah.
That's right. It was the second yellow for Vidic, but just to me, just sloppy play on the back line by Man United, and in a team like Liverpool that plays very, very fast and quick on the ball. If you're going to be sloppy on the back line, they will absolutely kill you. And any team will do that. If you're going to play sloppy on the back line against a fast team, they'll kill you. You know, if Man United plays that way against like a Barcelona, it's 6-0, Ben. It's 6-0.
Yeah.
You know, they do what they did this weekend to Osasuna. And we're talking about Manchester United here. We're talking about one of the biggest sports teams in the world, and just to look that sloppy and that inept on the back line was amazing. You know, no fault to De Gea, nothing he could do. I really wished Steven Gerrard did put that third one away. It would have been nice to see the hat trick by penalty.
It would have been different. Yeah, I mean, obviously I've got a lot to say about it. I thought I'd let you, because obviously this is one of those kind of results that everyone's got something to say about, which is fair enough. I'm just looking quickly at the stats, Joe. Obviously 3-0. Possession's quite close. Man United, well, as close as it can be. Manchester United 49%, Liverpool 51%. But something that intrigues me, Joe, as well, that wasn't possibly as obvious, because it did seem to be their defending and Liverpool's massive pace up front, and just in fairness, that Vidic and I can never remember his name, Johnny Evans, that was playing at the back. Just that it would just seem to be there was no pace there, and they couldn't be bothered to move. They were rock solid, as if there was 2 lumps of cement on their shoes. So you take that what it is. But Manchester United 13 shots, Joe, and 1 shot on target. Now, this is not good enough from any team. I mean, I wouldn't, if I'm going to play football on Thursday, and I play in goal. If we had 13 shots and there's only 1 on target, I know if that was you, Joe, in my team taking 13 shots and only getting 1 on target, I'd be in here giving you a little bit of stick on the way back to the dressing room. It just seems to me that, there has to be, I'm all for giving David Moyes a chance. I do think he will get a chance. I do think he deserves to have a chance. You don't build up that much of a reputation for it to be killed in one season. But there's definitely something not right here. They're not gelling. They need to buy wingers. I think Fellaini's disappeared. I don't know what's happened to Fellaini.
He's been awful.
Robin, yeah, he doesn't. I don't know. Maybe they should play a diamond. Maybe they should play 4-2-3-1. I was talking about it to my brother this morning. He was saying, "Oh, our season's over now." Blah blah blah, and I was saying, what would you do? Would you buy two wingers? Would you play 4-2-3-1? Would you play Rooney in midfield, play Mata behind? Would you play Mata further forward and play maybe like a 4-3-1-2? But this is destruction at its top level. I mean, you got to realise that in England, this Man United Liverpool, this is a big derby. I mean, all these teams in this area. I mean, even Blackburn's classed in this area, but I mean the big teams in this area. You take Man City, who have only come into this the last few years. Man United Liverpool is huge. Is absolutely huge. Whereas you look at Liverpool, 18 shots, but they got 7 on target. And they missed a penalty. This is a dire season for Man United, sunk to a new low. This is Liverpool's first victory at Old Trafford in 5 years. And we're not even mentioning the fact that Luis Suarez scored again. That's his 25th goal of the season. It really underlined the huge gulf in quality between these two sides this year. I mean, I think it was there for everybody to see. Liverpool, for me, their weakest point, and the reason they won't win the Premier League I don't think they will. You can quote me on it and feel free to abuse me. I'm on Twitter and Facebook, but I don't think they have the defence to win the Premier League. I think the rest of the team's good enough. I really do, but I think they maybe need two more defenders to make it. Two more defenders at least to make this potential title winning side. But I mean, I don't know, Joe. What do you think? Can they actually win the league? Would you? Do you think they have as good a chance as any if it was an equal playing field with this team? Or?
No, I think you've hit it on the head. I think their problem is in the back line, and they're just not quite strong enough in the central defense to pull this off. Great goaltending, Simon Mignolet. Good midfield, amazing attacking front line. I don't think they have enough defensively to be able to control a team like Man City. Especially if you start to get into a track meet with Man City and you're starting to run up and down the pitch with them, they're going to kill you, especially with a healthy Aguero. Chelsea can lock you up. Chelsea's solid defensively. Chelsea's solid in the midfield. Great goaltending. Chelsea can definitely counteract what Liverpool can do to them. So I don't see them. I think they'd have a better shot if Arsenal were leading the way and they had to catch just Arsenal. But I don't.
Yeah.
I don't see them. I don't see them doing it against the Chelsea Man City duo. I don't think it's capable. One thing I wanted to mention. You mentioned the stat that United in the game only had one shot on goal. That was the same thing they did a couple weeks ago against Olympiacos. What is it? Is it? My question to you is it David Moyes and his game planning, or is it just, we're overrating these strikers? We're overrating the Rooneys and the Van Persies of the world at this point in their careers.
I honestly, I don't think it's either. I really don't. I mean, David Moyes. Ferguson. I can't remember the exact role that he has in the club, but he is somewhere above in the management. So he's there basically. If David Moyes wants to talk to Alex Ferguson, he can pick up a phone. He can talk to Alex Ferguson. He's in the stands, watch the games. He's there. So I can't believe that message is whatever the message is not getting filtered to David Moyes. And I also cannot believe that he hasn't gone to Ferguson and said, "Look, what the hell is going on? Why is this not working?" So I don't think it's David Moyes. I really do not. As far as overrating him, I think Robin van Persie. Does he want to be there? I know he says he's signing a new contract, but is he signing a new contract because it's an extra 50 grand a week, or is he signing a new contract because he wants to be at Man United? I don't know. These are things that you've got to be closer to Liverpool than to Manchester United than that to know that. But I really don't think it's either. If I had to put my finger on it, Joe, I think at some point down the line, these players have got demoralised. They've lost that Man United morale that was unstoppable, and they kind of look at sea. They're not trusting each other. That's definitely that combined with the fact that they haven't had enough creativity this year, because even when the strikers are on, the midfielders are not on, and then when the midfielders are on, the strikers are not on. And this is why Man United are sitting in 7th in the league, because they can't get all together and they can't play as a team. I mean, just going back to the game quickly, but this was compounded by the fact that not only did the Man United defence play poor and have no answer to the pace of Sturridge and Suarez, but their own attack's completely blunt. I mean, if you're going to do that in every game, you're going to get turned over by so many teams. And now it's a 12-point gap to fourth place from Man United. You can't play in the Premier League and catch 12 points, not at the top end. Even at the bottom end, you're closing your eyes and praying to any god that you think will listen. But at the top end of the table, teams do not drop 12 points in 10 games. It doesn't happen, so it's over for Man United. Do they want Europa League now? They're saying no, but you win that and you're back in the Champions League. I don't know. Is it too many games? Can they really make the Champions League next year? There's a lot of questions for me that need to be answered, but you stay with Moyes for me. You go to the summer. I was actually saying this to my brother today. This is not what happened to Blackburn. Blackburn won the league and they disappeared off the planet because the money was gone. Manchester United are a brand, an actual brand. They're known everywhere. I mean, I'll go over to America. I could ask anybody in America, even the ones that don't really like. Hey, I'm going to say it, but I'm going to say soccer. But even if I said to them, who are Manchester United, they would tell you. Yeah. Whereas, so there's money there. There's enough support and there's money there that they can go and spend money. Can they get the players that they want? Maybe, maybe not. But they need to go out, spend a lot of money, throw more money at it than that's needed, because you will need to do that to come to a team that's not got European football for next year. But they need to do that, and they need to stick with David Moyes. And over the summer, they need to, for me, be in more often than they should be. I would definitely not give them as much time off as they think they need, because I don't think a lot of them have deserved it. I don't think De Gea's done anything wrong. I would quite happily let him go off and have some sun. But nearly everybody else on that team, especially Smalling, Cleverly, I think they should drop Rooney back to midfield. He only seems to play well there. I mean, Robin Van Persie's not turning up to games. Their wingers are an absolute joke. Young hasn't really turned up. Nani's very, very poor. They're relying upon a really young Januzaj. You can't do it. You can't do it. Something desperately needs to change, and we will be talking about this pretty much all the time, Joe. I mean, I think this year we've got the World Cup, Joe, but I mean next year when we've got nothing to do, we're going to be sitting there in the summer twiddling our thumbs to see what happens. But in this situation, it's kind of everyone just wants to see what happens next. I don't know if you saw the story, Joe, on the BBC. I know you say you get the BBC in America now. On Match of the Day, which is the Saturday night TV show in England that reviews the Premier League football for the weekend, they had a 8-9 minutes of talking about Manchester United, and they was talking about how long they thought it would be before Manchester United were a serious title threat, and how long do you reckon it would be before they won the title? And they were saying 10 years, Joe.
Wow, that's
which, I mean, that was only I believe it was Lee Mills who said that. I know if SirBob was around, dude. I think I'm actually right this time, so he couldn't say anything. But anyway, to me, he's saying 10 years. The guy next to him was like, well, it probably wouldn't take that long, but maybe 5. But 5 years, these Man United fans, I mean, it's hard. Trust me, talking of a football fan that's had a high life and now not, it's really hard. But to say 5 years for the people that, are used to just, their lives were just so easy. Just turn on, watch the TV, watch your league, watch your team win a trophy, go home, go and sleep. It wasn't like watching a football team. You're supposed to have ups and downs. They didn't have downs. This is it for Manchester United. That I do feel for their fans, because I know exactly how they're feeling. But something needs to change. They're going to give David Moyes. They have to give him another season, because this is Man United. This is not the type of club. They're built on a solid foundation. I'd be very, very surprised if he leaves next year. But yeah, let's see what happens. But we'll just go off Manchester United, Joe, and just back to the title race quickly. This is a 4-way title race. I know we kind of discounted Liverpool and Arsenal, but you can't mathematically. Last chance to change your mind, Joe, but this has got to be the most exciting race of any league for a title, surely. I mean, we haven't got one with 4 teams that can realistically win it now.
No. This is certainly, in terms of race to the top, this is certainly the one. I mean, we talk about, the only one that would rival it is certainly La Liga that we just talked about earlier, with 3 teams within a couple of points of each other. Here we've got 4 teams within 6 points of each other, but Man City, who is the bottom end, has 3 games at hand on top Chelsea. They're 6 points back. In essence, Man City could win their 3 matches. They're 3 points ahead, and Liverpool and Arsenal have a match at hand on Chelsea as well. So 65, they would be, if Man City won all three of their matches and Liverpool and Arsenal won their match at hand, we're looking at 69, 66. We're looking at four teams within 4 points of each other.
Yep.
It's amazing, and
And this is the thing. The game I'm previewing is Chelsea Arsenal next. I mean, how big a game is that? So you can see that it's really, really good for a neutral. I mean, I must admit, like, it's hard for me because I'm trying to keep track of the European leagues because I want to do the show, and then I'm trying to keep track of my own team, and then I'm looking at the Championship as well. So for me, this is like a really, really interesting league that I love, but I find it hard. I'm trying to, you're trying to catch up on it. There's so much football going on, but it's wicked, and this is the best it can be, and I'm going to be watching as much match of that as I can.
And to further the point, Ben, when you look at the bottom of the table, you've got another 6 or 7 teams within 5 points of each other.
Yeah,
there's another fantastic race to watch. So
yeah.
It's got the best of both worlds.
Exactly. We're gonna go through the results, Joe, anyway, because we've still got to do the previews of the teams.
Right.
I know we're actually doing quite good for time, so I'm not going to rush too much, but we'll go through anyway. It was actually Hull City and Manchester City, Hull 0, and Manchester City 2. Vincent Kompany actually sent off in the 10th minute. They played over 80 minutes with 10 men, Joe. Silva and Dzeko had the goals, winning 2-0. Actually going to talk a little bit about that in the Man City Corner, so we won't go through that. Everton beating Cardiff 2-1. Fulham beating Newcastle 1-0. Surprise result, our team, Fulham, Joe. The 3 points against Newcastle. We don't usually go into any detail, but me and Joe, we did talk about Fulham 2 weeks ago, and we said that we'd both like to see them stay up. So we'll talk about the league in a minute, and we've got to have one of the bottom teams that we can follow as well, Joe. So anyway, carrying on, Southampton 4, Norwich 2. A goal for Ricky Lambert there as well, which is good for the England national team. Stoke 3, West Ham 1. Sunderland drawing 0-0, Crystal Palace. Swansea losing 1-0 at home 2-1 at home to West Brom, and Aston Villa beating Chelsea 1-0. 3 red cards in this game, Joe, as well. So an interesting one, but a shock result as well. I must admit, I didn't get to see the game, but 3 red cards in one game seems a bit crazy, Joe. So I'm gonna have a check on the report because it's not actually showing the red card of the third player. It's not actually listed it as a red card. But yeah, the ones that they've actually got listed down here is Willian and Ramirez. It does just say player on the third one, but still a surprise result there, and it's opened it up for Manchester City. If we go on to Sunday's games, obviously we had the Manchester United losing 3-0 to Liverpool, Nemanja Vidic with a red card, and Tottenham losing 1-0 at home to local rivals Arsenal. And the Tottenham fans going to come on, and I don't think he's too happy about the way that Tottenham downfall is kind of going, but we're going to talk a little bit about that as well later on in the show. Just going to run through the league now as it stands before we do the preview to Chelsea-Arsenal game. Chelsea top of the league on 66 points, and then we have Liverpool 4 points behind on 62, but like Joe said, they have a game in hand, and Arsenal also 4 points behind on 62, also have a game in hand. And then potentially Liverpool and Arsenal can be 65, and Chelsea 66, and then Manchester City, if they win their 3 games in hand, will be on 69. So we could be looking at 69, 66, and then 2 teams on 65. So that's the potential of what this looks like. But obviously, we'll keep you updated. If there is a midweek game and Manchester City play it, which they will, we will at the very least run through the score, and obviously we'll run through the league for you as well. If we go into the Europa League spots, Joe, which is potential for a Champions League spot now. So this Manchester United, we're too good for the Europa League. We haven't got a big enough squad. You've got enough money. Go and buy a squad. That annoys me because there's teams like Blackburn and these teams down here that would give their left, pardon my French, but their left baby maker to have a chance at Europa League, and yet. I know it's a fall from grace, but still, why would you want to be even further from grace? It confuses me. But anyway, 5th place and the first Europa League place is Tottenham on 53 points. And then we have Everton in 6th on 51. But they do have 2 games in hand on Tottenham, so the potential to go up to 57 points there. So Everton potentially could lock up that 5th place. And then we have Manchester United on 29 points with a game in hand on Tottenham. So they could actually go within 2 points of Tottenham, Joe. and with a superior goal difference. So this Manchester United season is not over. They could very conceivably still make the Europa League. This Tottenham team does not look much cop, and if Manchester United can just pull their finger out, it's not impossible. It's really not. And then it's 3 points to Southampton, and then Newcastle on 43. I do kind of feel that Southampton, Newcastle, unless Manchester United really fall off the boil, which is possible, but they'd need Tottenham as well. Probably a bit too far away from the Europa League places. But if we look at the other end of the table, Joe, still a very interesting relegation battle. We have Fulham bottom of the league on 24 points. Unfortunately for them, Joe, it was a week that all the teams around them won. Cardiff on 25 points and Sunderland on 25 points. But I will say a lot of the teams in this division have played 30 or 29 games, and Sunderland, due to the Capital One, played a lot of extra games, so they've actually got 2 games in hand on West Brom and Crystal Palace above them, who are 3 points clear on 28, and they've actually got 3 games in hand on the teams below them, and Norwich are actually 4 points ahead. So this Sunderland position, to me, is possibly a little false, and they probably do still fancy the chances of getting out. But yeah, we have Crystal Palace and West Brom on 28, 3 points clear, and then Swansea and Norwich above them, 4 points clear, and then Hull City on 35 points clear. But even all the way up to West Ham, Joe, 5 points clear on 31. There's a lot of teams involved here, and it's a very exciting league. But we come to think of that when we talk about the Premier League. So
yeah, I think just looking at it quickly, I think Southampton, Newcastle, Villa, and Stoke are probably where they're going to remain for the rest of the season. I think everybody else is in play.
They're the 4 teams for me that probably haven't got anything to play for this year.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll just go on and preview the game of the week, Joe. Chelsea Arsenal, pretty big game to preview. It's Saturday, this Saturday, 22nd of March. Obviously, it's Chelsea in first versus Arsenal in third. This is Chelsea 4 points clear at the top, but they do know everyone's got games in hand on them to close the gap, and they obviously must be thinking if Man City win all their 3 games, they'll push them out to second. This Arsenal team is 4 points adrift of Chelsea, like I said, in third, and they've got a game in hand. So potentially they win this game. If Arsenal win this game and win their game in hand, they're actually going to leapfrog Chelsea and go second in the league. So it's a massive 6-pointer in this 4-horse race for the title, which we've been talking about. But mark my words, Joe, Man City are going to be just as interested in this game as these two are. So expect them to be watching this with just as much interest, like I said. I don't know who does the Premier League fixtures. I really don't. I don't know if it's just because every team in the Premier League seems like a big game, but it does feel like the Premier League fixture boys have timed these big games perfectly. As far as predictions go, the bookies say Chelsea because they're at home. They do seem to stick with that quite a lot. But for me, it's going to be a tight affair. I know Arsenal and Chelsea, well, Arsenal especially, do tend to have higher scoring games of late, but I think it's going to be a tight affair. I do think one goal is going to settle this, and I do expect this to be under 2.5. I think it's another game that's going to go 1-0 either way, but I'm going to go with Chelsea. I think that they're going to be looking at this Man City team, and they know they've really got a little choice but to beat Arsenal here, and I'm going to go with 1-0 Chelsea, 7-1 at William Hill. Any views on Chelsea Arsenal, Joe?
Yeah, I think you're right on the money. Arsenal really played a stinker last weekend, and Chelsea, although losing 1-0 to Aston Villa, played down 2 men in the match, and now obviously the second one was, I think it Willian who got the second one. It was accumulation, but it was in like the 90th minute. But they did play down a man for quite a bit. Again, Stamford Bridge. I don't see Arsenal. They've really kind of fallen off. A lot of people are really disillusioned with Mesut Ozil and the way he's been playing lately, which is kind of amazing because he was the second coming about 2 months ago, and now he's certainly not there anymore. He's not playing at that same level.
Somebody, sorry to interrupt you, don't let you carry on, but somebody's saying that Ozil is like a luxury player, and they can't afford to play him all the time, which is it's interesting. What do you think about that, Joe? You think?
I don't see it that way. I don't see it that way. He's not an old guy. He's not off injured. I just don't see it that way. I just don't think,
I think it's because he's not. Well, I assume they're saying he's not tracking back as much as he should. But do you really need someone like Ozil tracking back? I mean, I'm not saying don't, but he's not the first guy on the sheet that you would say, go back and help out the defenders. To me, he's just not doing what needs to be done from a player of his creativity, that kind of level. But
I personally,
carry on, Joe. Anyway,
I think he misses Aaron Ramsey playing next to him, and obviously missing Theo Walcott
I
playing
agree.
there as well. I think those two injuries, obviously Walcott much longer term. I don't know if Ramsey's back yet. I don't think he is yet, or at least if he is, he's not full strength. But I think you lose those two guys in the midfield, guys like Walcott and Ramsey. I think you have a problem, and you've put a lot more pressure on a guy like Ozil to perform there, and it's asking a lot of him. I don't see it that way. When Ozil played in Real Madrid, look at the midfield he had there. When you get to play with Ronaldo, you're not going to have much trouble. So I just think he's missing a lot of the support that was around him early in the season. And what made Arsenal so great wasn't so much Mesut Ozil, but it was Mesut Ozil's ability to operate because the pressure wasn't quite on him with those players there. One thing I want to mention, Ben, real quick. I know he's listening. He's not in the chat room, but I know he's listening. Troy, thanks for tuning in tonight. Glad you could make it. So Ben, sorry to
Yeah.
but that's my view.
Yeah,
on
no. Thanks for listening, Troy. I know he does try and listen every week, and I'd like to show my appreciation. Yeah, should we? Like I said, 1-0 Chelsea. It's 7-1. And we'll go for that. I've got a 35-1 shot as well later on, like I said. So we'll let you have that then. We're going to go on to the Champions League, Joe. Go from the leagues for a bit. We're going to review. Did you want to review 2 games and then we'll just go for the other 2 results?
Yeah, actually, what I'll do is I'll review the scores. One thing I want to do is because Troy tuned in a little late, I want to just recap our predictions for this week, if you don't mind.
Okay.
In El Clasico, we're going to go with a draw, 1-1, Real Madrid-Barcelona. In Ligue 1, we're going to go Monaco 1-0 over Lille. In the Bundesliga, we're going to go Wolfsburg 1-0 over Augsburg. In Serie A, we're going to go Napoli 2-0 over Fiorentina. And as you just heard, Chelsea 1-0 over Arsenal in the Premier League. So, yeah, Ben, let me give the scores of this week's Champions League matches that were played. Then what we'll do is you and I have a game each that we're going to just touch on quickly, and we'll make some predictions for the upcoming week's matches as well. So I'll run through all the scores, and then we'll pull out our games. So starting from the top on Tuesday, Bayern Munich drawing 1-1 with Arsenal. That was at the Allianz in Munich. Atletico 4-1 over AC Milan at the Vicente Calderón. On Wednesday, we had PSG 2-1 over Bayer Leverkusen in Paris. And Barcelona closing it out 2-1 over Man City in Camp Nou, meaning that Bayern Munich, Atletico, PSG, and Barcelona move on to the round of 8 in the Champions League. So Ben, I'll start us off first. And the match that I'm going to go over quickly is the Man City Barcelona match, which I did get a chance to watch a little bit of this match. Lionel Messi, the man of the match, scoring a goal for Barcelona in the 67th minute to take the lead. And Dani Alves closing it out with a very late goal in the 90th minute. Vincent Kompany drawing 1-1, giving a little bit of hope to Man City, but with the 2-0 loss at home in Manchester, really needed a lot more than an 89th minute goal. Little unfortunate that I thought the score line was appropriate for this match. Man City did play very, very well. Looking at the stats in this match, Barcelona leading the possession 58-42, and for a Barcelona team that plays a tiki-taka style, that is really a close possession match. Shots 15-11 in favor of Barcelona, 7-4 on goal, and Barca also hitting the post one time in this match. Again, Barcelona, we've talked about them, certainly the class, but I did think that, playing in the Camp Nou, Manchester City really did take it to them and really did take the match to them. You could see they were chasing this match to start off, and unfortunate that they didn't fare better in this one. You did get Aguero in this. He was subbed off in the 45th minute. Negredo came on for a little more offense in the 72nd minute. Personally, I would have started Negredo. I'm personally not a big fan of Kolarov, and I would have rather seen Negredo play in this match, especially the Negredo-Aguero Silva, Nasri kind of combination. I really think that works well for Man City. It's the right combination of speed and aggression. Would it have fared well here? I don't know, but they needed a lot more than just the one goal that they got, and unfortunately they didn't get it. So they've been eliminated, and we'll talk about Man City a little deeper later on in terms of their trophy pursuits for this year. But again, another fantastic match from Lionel Messi. Ben, one thing I want to talk about, and I've got beIN Sport on in the background here with their show, The Locker Room, which is probably for those of you listening in the United States and Canada, this is easily by far the best soccer discussion show on television, bar none. It's really I really watch it 2 or 3 times a week. I just watch the replay of it because it's so in depth. Just thinking about this match, Lionel Messi and Neymar. Neymar has really fallen off the pace lately. He's not been the contributing factor to Barcelona's style and play like they had expected him to be at the beginning of the year. Ben, previously on the show here, I keep an eye on it in the corner of my eye. They're talking about just keeping Neymar on the bench. Don't even play him. I mean, this is Neymar, probably one of the top 10 players in the world. Talking about keeping him on the bench, and when you watch that match against Osasuna this week, they kept him on the bench, and Barca really just flowed and flowed and flowed. It was amazing. What do you think about Neymar and where he stands, overall here? Do you think he's a guy he should keep on the bench, play him limitedly? What do you think, Ben?
I personally, I don't think it's he hasn't done enough wrong for me to start him on the bench all the time. I don't understand why they do that. I mean, if you really want to rotate, then by all means rotate. But I think to write someone off like that is stupid. It reminds me a little bit of like the Ibrahimovic situation. Like, you can't tell me that Ibrahimovic is not good enough to play in a Barcelona team, because he is. But for some reason, he just couldn't make it work at Barcelona. Whatever the case would be, where he couldn't, play the way he wanted to play, or he didn't fit into that mould, or, whatever it is. But for me, I think they should give it, at very least, the end of this season and another season, before they start saying that he's, he should start on the bench, or, he's a second choice. So for me, I'm not really going to read that much into it until it starts happening over a serious period of time for me. And then I do think if they did do that, he's not going to stay. He's too good, and I agree with you. He's one of the top 10 players in the world. So, I don't know. It just really reminds me of the Ibrahimovic situation. It's a player that should and could, but isn't.
Yeah, I agree. So moving forward, obviously Barcelona's moving on in this round. Seeing the 4 teams that they have to play, or the 3 teams that they have moved through with PSG, Atletico, Bayern Munich, I'd hate to see them play. I honestly, what I would really love to see, and I don't think they will allow it, is I'd love to see Barca play Atletico in the next round. And we'll talk about the teams coming up and who is possibly going to advance from here. I'd love to see Barca Atletico. I don't think they'll allow that this early still in the competition. So, Ben, why don't you give us a match that you wanted to cover, and then we'll go over to the matches this week.
I was just going to talk about the Bayern Arsenal game. Like I said, English and the German leagues are, 2 of the leagues I do. So I thought this would be an interesting game for me to cover. Arsenal obviously, bowing out of the Champions League, but this was a really spirited 1-1 draw against Munich. I know it was a boring result against the Tottenham game, but they got the job done there. But this was spirited. This Bayern Munich team. I know Toni Kroos and Muller were out of the team, but still, this is a really, really world-class Bayern Munich team at the Allianz Arena. And Arsenal have gone there, and I mean, okay, Bayern 67% possession, 6 on target. Arsenal 33%, 7-3. But this Arsenal team, they worked as a team, as a unit throughout the whole game. And if they would have done what they did and played like this at the Emirates, they would have had a serious chance in this tie. But saying that, it wasn't meant to be, but it was always going to be a tall order, for Arsene Wenger's meant to come to, the best team in the world away from home with a 2-0 deficit, and, it proved that way. But yeah, they were resilient. and Bastian Schweinsteiger, close range effort, put Bayern Munich ahead, and then it was Lucas Podolski, former Bayern man, who equalised. But there was actually a bit of late drama as well in this game. Fabianski saving a stoppage time penalty from Muller. It looked like a bit of I don't know if you saw it, Joe, but it was a bit of a soft decision, really. Koscielny and Robben, that's not a penalty for me, but either way, it didn't matter, and justice was done. Fabianski with a decent save. But an interesting thing that come out of this, Joe, just before the game started, Tony Kroos, apparently Man United, he's pretty much on his way to Manchester United in the summer, which I don't know where this leaked from, but it came through onto one of the BBC rumour sites. I know that you got to see, Joe, now that they've got BBC over in America. That's an interesting one for me. I think it'd be a good coup for Manchester United. But we're going back to Bayern Munich. A dominant possession. Thiago was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Just the centre of everything. It just looks like you just put him in the centre of the field and he just runs everything. Absolute world class. He played absolutely brilliantly. But as far as the Arsenal fans go, looking at this from an Arsenal point of view, I do think any Arsenal realists, which I'm not being nasty to any Arsenal fans listening, but I do tend to think that Arsenal fans expect a little bit too much sometimes from their team. But I think any Arsenal fan would realise that a 1-1 draw in Munich is an awesome result. This wasn't a poor team. This is only a team without Kroos and Muller. This isn't a team that you look at and think, okay, this is definitely a second-class Bayern Munich team. This is a good Bayern Munich team. And, rather than saying, we're at the Champions League, they should take this 1-1 draw, say we've scored in Munich, we haven't lost to the best team in the world, and use this as a catalyst, for the rest of the season,
I agree.
I believe they're still in the FA Cups. There's 2 remaining trophies. They've got something to fight for, to play for. But as far as Bayern goes, still deserve favourites for the Champions League for me. And obviously they're moving on to the roundabout.
Yeah, just looking at the highlights here, or the statistics. I was just looking over the Bayern Munich team. We're talking about Tony Kroos possibly moving to Man United. It's interesting. They have an embarrassment of wealth in the midfield. Thiago Alcantara, who's, like you said, probably the man of the match. He had a great game. Frank Ribery, Arjen Robben, Mario Götze, Bastian Schweinsteiger. And we've got Mueller and Kroos on the bench.
I know.
Mueller and Kroos start anywhere. And I mean anywhere. Pretty much any team you can think of out there. Tony Kroos and Thomas Mueller are going to probably be on the pitch at one point in the game. And so they have an embarrassment of wealth in the midfield. So letting a guy like Kroos go to Man United is probably not a big deal. Probably going to have to make some space for Lewandowski coming in next year anyway, which is already well known. But again, like you said, Arsenal should certainly take away from this match. I didn't get to see the entire match. I saw a couple minutes of it. But you really should be taking away from this the fact that they played well, and they should carry that momentum with them into their trophy competitions in England, because they're still in the FA Cup and obviously still a factor in the league itself. So really, good on them to at least play well, knowing that this, overcoming a 2-goal road situation, it was going to be next to impossible against a team like Bayern Munich, who we said previously has only given up 12 goals in their entire league this year. So it was a tall order to begin with. So the fact that they did actually play well, even managed a goal out of Podolski, and at least made something of this, I think is something that they should look to build on moving forward for sure. So.
Do you want to go? We'll go through to the predictions then, Joe. For the games, obviously tomorrow, and Wednesday we've got 4 Champions League games. We have Chelsea, Galatasaray, Real Madrid, Schalke, Borussia Dortmund, Zenit, and Man United, Olympiacos. I'll let you go first, Joe. Since I just talked about it. Run through those, Joe, for me. What's your predictions for the game?
Yeah, well, first off, let's start with the Chelsea-Galatasaray match tomorrow at Stamford Bridge. They're coming off of a 1-1 match at Galatasaray, Probably not the result Jose Mourinho wanted. Certainly in the driver's seat, though, with the road goal, they could stand to, it's going to be an issue moving forward. It's nice to have the road goal, but giving up that 1-1 draw, I don't see Chelsea losing at home. I really don't. I think this one's going to be, just if we want to put a number on it, and we might as well, I'm going to go Chelsea 2-0 on this one. I would think they're going to definitely be commanding at home. They're going to dominate possession, and I don't see them losing, and obviously Chelsea moving on with the 2-0 result as well. So I don't see really any shocking surprise there, Ben. How about you?
Yeah, I've got 2-0 as well. Not much more to say really. Yeah, I think 2-0 and Chelsea 3-1 over it. Yeah.
All right. Why don't I let you start out with the Real Madrid? Coming off the road thrashing of Schalke 6-1.
Yeah, I still think that obviously Real Madrid are going to rest some players for this game. But I do think that even the players that are going to come in, there's enough depth there to really, really give the Schalke team trouble. I don't think that Schalke are going to be able to go to the Bernabeu and get the job done. That being said, I don't think you're going to see as big a scoreline. Obviously, the players rested, and this is not a bad Schalke team really. I just think that they're up against a superior team in Real Madrid. I've actually gone for 2-0 again, Joe. What about you?
Yeah, I think like you said, this is a 90-minute formality. I don't see Real Madrid really giving much up at the Bernabeu here, and like you said, I would expect them to rest some of their players, at least coming in to El Clasico, coming in on Sunday. I don't think you're going to see a full game out of guys like Cristiano Ronaldo. Having said that, unfortunately I hate to agree with you. I wanted to be a little different, but I think a 2-0 Real Madrid win is probably going to be. You know what? Just to be a little different, I'm going to say 2-1. We'll give Schalke a goal on this one. But yeah, Real Madrid win, and like I said, this is a 90-minute formality. So I'll go 2-1 just to be a little different. How's that? Moving on to Wednesday, let's start with the Dortmund Zenit St. Petersburg match. This one finished, if I remember correctly, 4-2 in Russia. I actually don't have the other scores up. I'm really trying to recall this from memory, but I think
It was 4-2 Dortmund. Yeah.
It was 4-2. So Dortmund with 4 road goals going home. I don't see Lewandowski letting this one up. I think this is going to be a 2-1 victory for Dortmund. It could even be 3-1. You know what? Let's make it interesting. Let's say 3-1 Dortmund here. Zenit, unfortunately, just not going to have enough to keep up with the big boys here. So I'm going to go 3-1 with Dortmund. How about you, Ben?
I must admit, I was looking through these games, and I've gone for 2-0 again. I don't know what it is. I just don't think the Zenit team have got enough. I don't see them breaking down Dortmund in Dortmund, so I don't see Dortmund letting in goals. So I've got, automatically I had Dortmund to win to 0, and then I just don't, like I said, I don't think Lewandowski's going to let up. I think he still wants to impress. He still wants to show he's good enough at Munich. This Dortmund got a nice draw here. So I'm joking on myself. But yeah, and I think they're going to score a couple of goals. So once again, unfortunately, I went for 2-0 to Dortmund.
All right. Well, last one, and I think this one's the most interesting one. Man United Olympiacos. Ben, start us off.
This is actually my 35-1, and it sounds sad, but I've gone for 2-0 across the board. I know this one's a bit surprising, and this is one that I kind of looked at, and I really couldn't decide. Because anyone that watched I actually watched the first leg, the Olympiacos Man United game, and Olympiacos, well, I mean, they were okay. They weren't a bad team at all. They went out and they did what they could do. But this Olympiacos team, even against this current Manchester United team, is nowhere near the quality of the Man United team. Man United, they have got, their first team is good enough to get, even from 2-0, they're good enough to win this game 2-0. And I think that David Moyes is he has to be feeling this pressure. And I guarantee you that at this moment in time, he is talking to Alex Ferguson on the phone or something, or, something is happening. And they need a result here. He knows they need a result here. He's got, this, to me, I still don't see him getting sacked, but I feel like he's in this kind of Tim Sherwood kind of boat, and I think he's going to want to impress here. As much as, obviously going through to the next round of the Champions League, is imperative. I feel like they're going to go there. The defense is going to be worked on a lot. I don't think Olympiacos will offer that much if Man United turn up. And that's the question: do they turn up or do they not turn up? But for me, I think after what happened against Liverpool, they have no choice. They really have no choice. Their fans are going to be in arms if they go out of the Champions League. So I went for Man United to win. I went for Man United to win 2-0, and I went for 2-0. I don't think Man United have got 3 in them, which of course means this game goes to penalties. So I've got United to qualify on penalties from this game overall, because obviously it was 2-0 Olympiacos from the first leg, and it pays 35 to 1, Joe. So yeah, if anyone fancies a couple of pound or a couple of dollars on 2-0 Man United to win on penalties, my brother said to me, whatever you do, don't bet Man United, don't bet any of your money on Manchester United, and that's coming from a Manchester United fan. But I've just got a feeling, and 35 to 1, it doesn't have to happen that often, but I don't think I'd be surprised at all if this game went to penalties. I really would not. But yeah, anyway, 2-0 Man United, I would draw.
I agree with you. I agree with you in the fact that I wouldn't be surprised, but I don't. I think Man United, when I watched them this weekend, they're a defeated side. They're done. They're in a little bit of disarray. They're not playing well together. Moyes, I think, and like you said, I don't think all the blame falls on him, but he's trying to find the right buttons to push, and I don't think he has enough time between Sunday and Wednesday to push the right buttons. I don't see it. I honestly, I'm going against you a little bit. I'm gonna take this as a 1-1 draw. I'm gonna actually pull one of your score lines, and one of your traditional score lines. I'm gonna go with a 1-1 draw in this one, and I see Olympiacos moving on. Again, they're not an incredible side. They're not a terrible side though. They're a decent team, and I think when you combine that, they're still playing well, even though they lost their first match to Panathinaikos a couple weeks ago. When you combine a decent playing Olympiacos side against a side like Manchester United in disarray, I think the only way for Man United to survive this, being at Old Trafford, is they're going to have to score a goal within the first 15 minutes.
Oh yeah,
I think if
they do have to score early. Yeah,
Yeah.
I do think that. But that's the thing, Old Trafford. Because no matter what's happening now, that Old Trafford is still going to be absolutely packed to the rafters.
Sure.
So if they get that goal within the first 20 minutes and the crowd get behind the team, this Man United team can, it can still happen, and I just saw it and something stuck out of me, and I don't know, I've got a feeling, and I'm doing quite well on my score, so I'm gonna take a long one this week, and not only am I gonna go 2-0, but I'm gonna say on penalties. But yeah, you heard it.
I think also, just talking it over, clearly that this is the only match that's really in any type of question.
Yeah, that's close. Yeah, I mean, obviously, for me, I still think Manchester United have got more chance of going through than, say, Galatasaray, and obviously the other two games are finished. So for me, this is the game that if you want to watch a game that's got something to play for, you watch this game.
I agree. Also, one other thing I want to add, though, of these two teams, whichever one moves on, looking at the quality that's ahead of them in the final 8, neither of them move on past this point.
Oh no, of course, no. This is it for both teams.
Yeah, this is it for both teams.
I mean, unless something crazy happens, and but even then, I think possibly maybe only Zenit, and even then they would have to, they need some kind of result against Dortmund, which I don't see happening. So yeah, I think this is it for them, whichever team goes through.
They would have to beat Dortmund 3-0 to start. I don't see it happening.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think it's over for both of these teams. I think this Manchester United team, the way they're playing, kind of fell into that Olympiacos bracket. So
Sure.
We'll have to see, but you never know. I mean, if I am right, they beat 2-0 and they come through on penalties, you don't know. That might be the catalyst to get their season going a bit, and maybe not do anything that make people's hair stand up, but just go into next season with a bit of morale and on a bit of a run.
Sure. So let's close out the Champions League here, and let's move on to Europa. And we'll rip through Europa real quick. I'll run through all the scores, and then Ben, you and I have a match each that we want to talk about, and then moving forward into the matches on Thursday. So Basel at home, and I'll list the home teams first on all these. Basel 0-0 versus Salzburg. Porto 1-0 over Napoli. Ludogorets losing at home 3-0 to Valencia. AZ Alkmaar winning at home 1-0 over Anji on a goal by Aaron Johansson of the United States, by the way. Juventus drawing at home to Fiorentina 1-1. Lyon 4-1 winners over Victoria Pilsen. Sevilla losing at home 2-0 to Real Betis. And Spurs losing at White Hart Lane 3-1 to Benfica. Ben, I'll start us off. And of course, I'm going to start us off with the Juventus match. This one obviously played at Juventus Stadium. Arturo Vidal starting the scoring off 1-0 in the third minute. And again, unfortunately, I didn't get to see this match. Of the Europa matches that were shown on Fox Sports over here, they did not play this one for us, so unfortunately I didn't get to see it. But Vidal with a 1-0 lead in the third minute, only to be undone by Mario Gomez in the 79th minute. Looking at the statistical information on this match, we have, let me just get down here a little bit. Possession, Fiorentina dominating possession, 60% versus 40%. Shots on goal, Fiorentina 15 to 13. I'm sorry, shots 15 to 13. On goal though, Juventus 6 to 4. Juventus also hitting the post once. Player of the match for Juventus, Arturo Vidal, with the goal itself in the third minute. Again, unfortunately, for all the talk coming out of Torino, where you feel like Juventus is really going to make a push to win this Europa League, especially seeing that they're going to play the final at Juventus Stadium. They come up with a result like this. They come up with a lackluster performance. I don't know. I don't think they're going to miss out. I do think that they will move on in this. I think that they will beat Fiorentina in Florence on Thursday. But boy, talk about making things difficult. Drawing 1-1, allowing a late goal to take the draw, where they could easily just run into Fiorentina and run into Florence and draw a match 1-1 or draw a match 2-2 and move on. It just seems unfortunate to me, Ben. What do you think of them? Just kind of, to me, this is a stumble. What do you think?
Oh yeah, this is definitely a stumble. But for me, obviously, Juventus are the favourite of the two teams, and you'd expect Juventus to progress. But that's why they make these matches two-legged, Joe. I mean, like if that had been a one-legged game and suddenly it goes into extra time, and Juventus go in and their heads are down and they think, hold on a minute, we're in extra time. What the hell just happened? So they try and take some of the luck factor out of football. It is unpredictable. It can, you do get upsets, and that's what makes football interesting. But yeah, obviously it was an upset. You would have expected Juventus to win at home, but I think this game will be close. I do think there'll only be a goal in it. But I expect I'll probably go 2-1 Juventus.
Yeah, I was thinking either 2-1 Juventus or 2-0 Juventus is going to be the return leg. So why don't I wasn't planning on making any predictions here, but let's go ahead and do it. We'll both go with the 2-0. We'll just agree to agree. How's that?
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Okay.
So you had a match you wanted to go over as well.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about the Tottenham game. I thought it was good for us to do a bit of groundwork, Joe, especially if we're going to get two Tottenham fans in next week, so we've got it a little bit fresh on our heads. But yeah, I'm going to talk about the Spurs-Benfica game. Obviously, Tottenham losing 3-1 at home to Benfica. Tottenham 5 shots, 3 on target. Benfica 10 shots, 6 on target. Pressure's really on Tim Sherwood now. It's cranked up to a real high gear now. I mean, the hopes of reaching the Europa League quarterfinals made pretty remote now. Benfica 3 away goals, pretty comprehensive really, comprehensive even at White Hart Lane. It's a little bit of a mini crisis for me, Joe. Saturday before last, Sherwood publicly come out and criticised his players, after the 4-0 loss to Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. And I actually leaked that Sandro revealed that there was a furious 2-hour crisis meeting at Stamford Bridge, so they were kept behind. You don't know quite what's going on behind the scenes here. But yeah, obviously then they've come out and there's no morale boosting response. They've come out and lost to Benfica, like we said. And now they're overwhelming favourites, Benfica here. I mean, you're looking at this Tottenham team. Can they go to Benfica? Is there enough time between the games next week? I don't think there is. So for me, they're going out of the Europa League as well. It's tough times at Tottenham now. But yeah, this Benfica team now, Joe, though, flip side of the coin now, unbeaten in 24 matches. This is Tottenham another year without a trophy. I do think Benfica, I mean, we're saying this is all, bad for Tottenham, but Benfica are always going to be, proven tough opponents, Joe. I mean, when we last week we was talking about Tottenham, and even from a Tottenham fan's point of view, I still realise that Benfica is going to be a tough game, but I don't think anyone really expected this. But this is last year's, Europa League runners-up. So I mean, they're unbeaten in 18 weeks. You can't go there and not be in top form and get a result here. And this is exactly what happened. They've won 21 or 23 fixtures in all competitions. You don't do that unless you're a decent team. As far as the game goes, Rodrigo with a goal for Benfica and Luisao for 2, and Christian Eriksen giving Spurs a glimmer at 2-0 down to make it 2-1, but obviously Luisao making it 3. One thing I wanted to say, Joe, I didn't actually mention this last week on the show when we talked about do you think there's enough depth up front. This was one of the questions I asked. Harry Kane started this match, Joe, ahead of Soldado. 2 questions. Would you have started Kane and rested Soldado for the derby? And secondly, do you think Kane's enough depth? What's your view on it?
No, and no. I would have started Soldado off of this. When we talked to Jeff a couple weeks ago, he's very high on Soldado. I'm not quite as high on Soldado as I am on Adebayor or the previous Jermaine Defoe, but
Yeah.
I certainly am much higher on Soldado than I am on Kane, and I think Kane is a little bit of a backstep. I'm surprised that Tim Sherwood put Kane out there ahead of Soldado. I would have certainly played Soldado first, instead, and I think it's a little bit of a misstep. One thing I wanted to bring up just after this was before the World Cup part was to talk about who loses their job first, David Moyes or Tim Sherwood. I mean, I know Sherwood has the 18-month contract, but it seems to me like this particular decision on this game was a little bit of a misstep. Now, like you said, this Benfica side is wonderful. They're a solid team and deserve to win. They did outplay they did outplay Spurs in this particular match, but I think not having Soldado out there was a big error to me personally. And then at that point, when you need help and when you need offense, he brings Soldado on, but he brings him on for Kane. I mean, at that point, you can't do that. You've really got to sub on Soldado. You've got to bring him on, I think, a little earlier in the match, and maybe remove a defender. Just looking it over now, maybe a guy like Kabul or even Vertonghen who had a yellow card at that point. Maybe that's the guy you want to bring off, is a guy like Vertonghen. Protect him on the yellow card. Bring in Soldado. Try to build up that offense and try to get back a couple goals. You can't give up 3 goals at home to Benfica and expect to come away from this. So,
Yeah.
again, like we talked about Real Madrid and Schalke with the 90-minute formality, I really think that this match in Portugal is a 90-minute formality, unfortunately.
Yeah. Also, Joe, talk about the other end. I don't know if you got to see much of the game. I got to see the goals, not the game, but all for defending. Really bad defending by Spurs in this game, and something that I haven't seen in a long while, Joe. This is I'm a bad person because I personally think it's quite funny, but you don't see this much in football, Joe. But when the third goal goes in, you see it come back to the bench, and you got Tim Sherwood and I believe Jesus is the Benfica manager. Anyway, and when the goal goes in, Jesus turns around to Sherwood and shows him 3 fingers, and it's it's a moment like you think it's the kind of thing you'd expect to see Mourinho do, but it's just at a level where you think, wow, talk about rub salt in the wounds, because Tim Sherwood must feel like he's at the bottom of a very, very dark and deep alley, and then there's the Benfica manager abusing him like literally a yard away from his technical area, and the managers didn't shake hands at the end, so that's not really surprising, but it kind of all went off here. What do you do now? If you're a Tottenham guy, Joe, I know you said which manager goes first. If I had to choose, I would say Sherwood. I don't think Moyes will leave. I do think Man United are a club built upon foundation, so I definitely would take Spurs as the easy money there. But what now for Spurs, Joe? What do they do? Is it a new manager, new players? What
Well, I think
try and hold on to Europa? What do you think?
no, I think. Well, job number one right now today, hold on to Europa. You need to keep in that top 5 slot or that top 6 slot in England. You need to hold that position to be able to get back to this competition next year and go at it again. That is job one. Job two, I'm not that down on Tim Sherwood. Unfortunately, he's the stopgap for AVB, and I know that the talk right now is that they're going to bring in Van Gaal. Fine, do it at the end of the year. But you know what you should do? If Tim Sherwood is your lame duck manager right now, maybe you fire him. You bring and even then, it's not the right play. You can't fire him because you want Tim to at least keep these guys going to keep that spot. If you want to bring in Van Gaal, do it now. Do it right now today. Either scrap Sherwood and do it right now, or wait. But you better, if you're going to bring in Van Gaal, bring him in. You've got to remember, Tottenham's got money. They sold Bale for over €100 million. Remember, they've got money. For God's sakes, get in that transfer market. Get what you need to make this thing right. They have Hugo Lloris. They are solid in goal. Jan Vertonghen, even though he had a stinker of a game, is still a wonderful defender. Build around him. Maybe go get Leighton Baines if you can. If you can draw him away from Everton, I don't know.
Yeah.
But bring in.
I think Van Gaal's a massive coup if they can get him there as well. I mean, you don't get to go back to your national team twice unless you're a real decent manager, So.
Right, or unless you're Italian, because the Italians do it all the time. So.
Oh yeah, true. But I mean, we're talking about in real international football. Go on, Carol.
Right, but yeah. So bring in Van Gaal. Do that, but talk to Van Gaal before you bring him in and say, listen, what do you want from this team, so that they can get in that transfer market with that money that they picked up from Gareth Bale, and do what they have to do. Unfortunately, maybe letting Bale go for that money was maybe the wrong move.
I do think they can get Van Gaal in, and there's money there, and they go out in the window and they hold on to Europa, and especially with the fact that you can get into the Champions League from Europa next year, and realistically, I don't think they're going to have enough to challenge for Champions League next year. I mean, get closer, feel like you've moved forward, feel like you've progressed. I mean, if they can have a nice, I think this year is too late, obviously, but next year, if they can get some depth in the squad, I think they need some depth. They need some strikers. They need maybe to shuffle around some of the midfielders, maybe get rid of a few, but bring in, still spend enough money to really strengthen it. And I think really, like you said, buy the goalkeeper, buy possibly Adebayo if he turns up, and buy Vertonghen. There's a lot of players. I think letting Dempsey go was a big mistake as well. I think they just need a settled period of time. That is what they need. They need a settled period of time where just nothing is crazy for a couple of seasons, and they can just slowly progress. Even if you just move forward bit by bit. This is a very, very, very hard Premier League, and to break that top 4 is, it's near enough airtight. So the only way you're going to do that is to have something that they don't have, and that's team cohesion, and that is having a consistent manager and everyone knowing their role and knowing who's going to support them for that role.
Well,
for me, that's what they need to do.
With that in mind, maybe the right play is not to bring in Van Gaal. Maybe the right play is to keep Sherwood where he is for another year, and provide that stability. Maybe you make some small changes. Maybe you accept that Europa is not going to happen. You can still hold that money, but maybe, like you said, bring in a period of some settled time and stability. Bring in keep Sherwood. Let him finish out next year as well. Then maybe make some small changes. Maybe a wing back. Maybe a midfielder or something. Maybe you keep Adebayor. Maybe you make him play with Soldado up top, and then maybe bring in a big striker. Bring in a Vucinic type or somebody that's on the market that can be had for a decent fee. and then go at it. And then when you go at it, though, I think if you're going to do that and settle and wait, I think when you go at it, you need to go at it with the Champions League in mind, not this Europa League.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that is the key for me. But I do think that these, like, to break this Champions League mold, they're going to need at least 3 years for me. I just think the teams up there are too good,
Hmm.
and I think you do need some stability. And I agree with you 100% what you're saying. The only thing that I worry is obviously they've got backroom staff and the people that are running the transfers are there to help, but you need a manager that's good in the transfer market as well. And is Tim Sherwood good in the transfer market? Do you want to give your money to Tim Sherwood to spend, or do you want to bring in someone that's used to handling big sums of cash, been at Barcelona, been at Munich, and be able to go out and go, okay, we've got the money. I'm experienced with world football. I'm managing at an international level. I see the top players, and I see who the clubs, the clubs at the next level down, like the Englands, those kind of teams that they can look at and bring in some players, and work out what's going on. And that's the only reason for me why I wouldn't keep Tim Sherwood, unless he does something like, if I was sitting there as a chairman and he came up to me the last couple of weeks and he was like, and he had a big list and he was like, okay, this is what's going to happen in the summer. These are going out. These are coming in. These are potential targets. This is what I want to do. This is my plan for this year. This is my plan for 5 years. That would impress me, and I'd keep him. But will he do that? Has he done that? I mean, I love Tim Sherwood. He's in the Blackburn team that won the Premier League. So I've got good memories of Tim Sherwood. But you have to be able to do that. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter what job you do. You've got to be able to impress the people above them and let them know that you can do the job you need and you've got the skills you need. To do the job. And for me, it's going to be a lot about the transfer window, and that's one thing we agree on, Joe. They have to go out and spend money, so you need the best person to spend that money, and you've got to be confident that that person knows what to do with that money.
Right, I agree. So
Just go on to the World Cup.
yeah, let's do it. I'll tell you what. We'll start out with our World Cup preview. Really don't have much left. I'm just kind of surprised, but we'll start out with our World Cup preview. We are going into Group D now. So we're almost halfway through here when you look at it. This is the start of Group D. Next week we'll actually be halfway through our World Cup preview. And Ben, you and I, we are going to have a big show next week.
Two teams close to our hearts next week.
Yes, yes. And I was thinking maybe what we should do is next week I take England and you take Italy just to hear what the other guy says.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
A little more realistic, and then obviously we can chime in afterwards. But this week we're going to go with the two boring teams in this group, which are Uruguay and Costa Rica. Keep in mind, though, I had said earlier that there are three groups of death in this World Cup. Group B, Group G, which is Germany, Portugal, Ghana, and the United States, and then this group right here, the Uruguay, Costa Rica, England, Italy group. There's obviously the soft spot in Costa Rica, which we'll talk about tonight. But of Uruguay, England, and Italy, one of those teams is going home at the end of 3 matches. And, and it's unfortunate because all three of those teams could easily be... if we came on the air on the 14th of July and said any one of those three names is your World Cup champion, no one would be surprised. Uruguay, England, or Italy, if we said that one of those teams won the World Cup, absolutely nobody in this world would be surprised. So the fact of the matter is one of them's going home. So let's kick it off. Ben, you want me to start out with Costa Rica?
Yeah, go ahead. That's fine.
All right, fine. Costa Rica, just to give you guys an idea, they qualified second in CONCACAF behind the United States ahead of Honduras. They are, according to William Hill, 2,500 to 1 to win the World Cup, one of the longest odds on the board. Again, like I said, qualified second in the World Cup. I'm just going to pull up my notes here quickly. They're led by Brian Ruiz up front. Brian Ruiz currently playing at PSV Eindhoven in the Eredivisie via Fulham. He is a product of Fulham. Also led up front with Alvaro Saborio, the 32-year-old who plays currently at Real Salt Lake in MLS. And one of their biggest benefits is Keylor Navas, who's the goaltender at Levante, one of the better goaltenders in La Liga. Currently, last week he faced 26 shots, 8 on goal in a 1-0 loss to Celta Vigo. And midfielder Christian Bolaños from FC Copenhagen really round out the stars on this team. Looking at their qualifying path, They qualified their last 4 matches. They're kind of a hot and cold kind of team. Their last 4 matches at home, 2 at home, they beat the U.S. 3-1, and they beat Mexico 2-1 on home soil. And you would think that this team would certainly challenge well in the World Cup, but at the same time, on their last 2 road matches qualifying for the World Cup, they drew Jamaica and they lost to Honduras, which is one of the other qualifiers. Their head coach, Jorge Luis Pinto, who is one of twin brothers and regarded one of the better footballers from Costa Rica. Also, previous big names from Costa Rica are Hernan Medford and Paulo Wanchop. Their best showing in the World Cup was in 1990 in Italy, where they made the round of 6 that year. So, looking at their schedule, and I like to have their schedules up here easily and readily available, and of course I failed at having that. They open their play on the 14th against Uruguay. On the 20th, they will play Italy, and on the 24th, they will close out against England. So, honestly, I envision 3 losses in this group. And unfortunately for them, it's going to be a quick exit to the World Cup. But certainly a team that, if you had placed them in groups H, E, or A, which are the weaker sides of the World Cup, in my opinion, just looking at those groups, if you placed them in Group A, which is Brazil, Croatia, Mexico, and Cameroon, I think they would actually fare reasonably well against a team like Croatia and maybe challenge for that spot to get into the quarterfinals or to the round of 16. If you threw them into to Group E, which is coming up in a few weeks, Switzerland, Ecuador, France, and Honduras. So if you replaced Honduras with them, I think they would challenge the Ecuadorian and Swiss side for that group as well. And then if you moved them into Group H, which they would have probably replaced, I believe, Algeria, you've got Belgium, Russia, and South Korea. They could easily, it would be a little bit of a tougher push against Russia, but I think they would actually give them a little bit of a game. So they've really, unfortunate for them, they've drawn this second group of death in the World Cup. But that is the quick little preview for Costa Rica. Ben, why don't you take us over to one of the favorites for the World Cup?
So Uruguay, obviously using William Hill, the 28-1 to win the World Cup. Just talk a little bit quickly about how they qualified. They're obviously buoyed and happy about their full place finish in South Africa in 2010. And their Copa America triumph a year later in 2011. They went into the South American qualifying competition for Brazil 2014 as firm favourites to progress, as you'd expect. But their plans did go a bit awry. In 2012, they collected just 2 points out of a possible 18. But lucky for the Uruguayans, they recovered their poise just in time, really, eventually edging into 5th. Anyone that listened to our show, this is one thing we was talking about, Uruguay in 5th. But yeah, and they booked their place in the national continental playoff for the 4th time in a row, actually. Waiting for them there with Jordan. Bit of a mismatch, really. Anyway, there were no match for Uruguay, and in the first leg in a man, which ended 5-0 for the visitors, it was quite an easy lead to defend for a goalless draw back in Montevideo, and Uruguayans made it to Brazil. A little bit about their history in the World Cup finals prior to the 70s, 1970s days. Uruguay are widely regarded as one of the giants of World Cup football. Uruguay actually the first team to win the World Cup. They've actually won it twice in their history. First one's 1930, like I said, and second one in Brazil 20 years later, when they stunned the home nation with a 2-1 win in Maracana. They did well semi-final run in Mexico in 1970 as well. But however, in the years that followed that, the Uruguayans appeared, quite infrequently, really, in the showpiece. A little bit forgotten about as winners of big European, big World Cup competition. But after failing to qualify for USA in '94 and France '98, they fell off the grid a bit. But they managed to make their return in Korea and Japan in 2002. But quite surprisingly, went out in the group phase, and then lost out in a playoff place to play at Germany 2006. So they haven't had a good time of it of late. But like I said, they did okay in South Africa 2010, and they came back, and also the Copa America triumph, which has brought them forward now, and obviously now they're one of the favourites. and obviously Diego Forlan in the past has won a couple of golden boots or golden balls, as you called it, as the tournament's outstanding players. As far as the key players go, players to watch, obviously Luis Suarez, Cavani, standard bearers really for Uruguayan football, for the national team over the last couple of years. Suarez ended the South American preliminaries as a leading goal scorer with 11 goals. Anyone that sees him in the Premier League is not very surprised about that. Second most used player under Tabarez. The duo, scored so many goals, vast experience. And with Logano directing a rear guard, it looks like a decent team, and even the goalkeeper, Musleri, is a very safe pair of hands between the posts, and definitely a team to watch. And hopefully they can build some momentum coming into 2014. So definitely a team to watch. Like I said, current coach is Oscar Tabarez, like I said, and obviously their best performance in the FIFA competition is the winners twice. Just a couple of names from the past: Obdulio Varela, Roque Maspoli, Pedro Rocha, Rodolfo Rodriguez, and Enzo Francescoli. A few players from the past there. As far as the group and their chances, obviously they're in a group with England, Costa Rica, and Italy. I had a little look at this, Joe. I was quite intrigued as to what the bookies would think, and I knew that you would be intrigued about this as well. And obviously, anyone that knows me knows that I'm anything that comes to odds, I'm very good at that kind of thing. But there's literally a cigarette paper between his two teams, Joe. Three teams, sorry. And this is the very definition of group of death. As far as the betting goes, the bookies have this as Italy as favourites, Uruguay to come through in second, and England to not qualify. But just to give you an idea of how close this is, Joe, Italy to qualify wins you 43 pence on the pound, or 43 cents on the dollar, whichever way you want to look at it. But England in third only wins you 80 pence on the pound. So literally it's 1.43 to 1.8, which is very, very small difference between Italy qualifying and England qualifying, and yet they expect England to win the group. So it is very, very close. I do think when you factor in conditions, though, obviously in Brazil, and I do think England's lack of ability to hold their nerve, I do tend to agree with the bookies. And obviously I think the Italians of late more experienced than the Uruguayans. So although I wouldn't want to bet on this group, you'd have to be pretty crazy to bet on this group. If you asked me to predict it right now, I would say Italy, Uruguay, England in third, and Costa Rica to go out. So that's Uruguay.
I agree. Just constantly looking at this, I kind of predicted it the same way. But like you said, paper thin, and with the three quality teams in this group, like we said, if you woke up on the 14th on that Monday and said any one of those three teams win the World Cup, there wouldn't be a surprise. Actually, I would say that if Italy won the World Cup, waking up on the 14th might be a little rough for me, and if England won the World Cup, it might be a little rough for you. So,
well, you're saying that. I mean, I know like Italy, we're going to go into it next week properly, but I think English people would be surprised because we are just terrible when it comes to like real major competitions, just awful. But I actually had a discussion with someone the other day, and I said that my prediction of number of people ringing into work sick or ill or closed apostrophes the next day, July 15th, is got to be at least 50% of people phoning in sick. I mean, lucky for me, I work for myself, so I'll definitely be ringing in sick. But I don't know about you, Joe. I mean, hopefully work's not listening, but if Italy win the World Cup, are you going to work the next day? I mean, I'm not sure if it'll be a Sunday game, so possibly you might have to go. Do they make it a holiday? I don't know what happens.
Actually, I've got to tell you, by mistake, I'm going to actually be on vacation. So I will not be going to work the next day, no matter what.
Sorry, we was actually saying this, Joe, just to give you an idea of atmosphere for the games. In England, obviously everyone knows London. In Leicester Square in London, it is quite famous. I mean, I don't know how famous it is around the world, but obviously, it's like in New York, you've got like Times Square and stuff like that. It's like that. It's kind of known around the world. It's a massive area. Basically the same thing, a big square, and obviously they've got theatres around it. But Anyway, I went to see the 2004 World Cup at Leicester Square when we played Brazil in the quarterfinals. And what they'd done is fenced around the shops, so you couldn't really get to the shops. You either came into the football area or you didn't. And they cleared out maybe like half a mile by half a mile. Well, maybe not quite half a mile, maybe like third by a third. Anyway, square. They put up like 100-foot square television, put it up in the corner, and then just ran. I've never seen so many people in one area in my life. Like, I was probably about 100 yards from the screen, and I couldn't see the screen because there was too many people in front of me. There was people lying on top of people on top of your heads. There was people climbing up buildings, people with a beer in their hand, hanging off scaffolding 40 foot from the floor, and it was crazy, absolutely crazy. You've never seen anything like it. And when England scored, it nearly burst an eardrum, and we went ahead as well, and it was absolutely crazy. There was nothing like it. If you can't go and you're in England and you're listening to this, or anywhere in the world, get somewhere. If if your nation makes it far, make it special, because if you're a big football fan, this is the only time that you rib each other about your clubs, but this is the only time that you're going to get and all want the same thing. So make sure you make the most of it.
One of my favorite memories that I'll always carry with me is the 2006 World Cup with Italy in Connecticut here, and specifically in Hartford. There is a large Italian population, and I grew up in this area. And it was the Wednesday game against Germany, which they scored in extra time to win, to take them to the final against France. And I took my daughter, who at the time was she was just turning 3, and so when that happened, the Italian population of Hartford, there's a famous, no, it's not famous, but the Italian street in Hartford is Franklin Avenue, and a parade of Italians driving their cars up and down the street just instantaneously burst, to the point where the police had to block the street off to let these people drive their cars up and down and beep their horns and go a little crazy. And this is a Wednesday afternoon, and my daughter said to me, I said to her, "Are we going to come back and watch the final at the Italian club?" And she said, "Yeah, she wants to come back." And she said to me, "Daddy, is there going to be another parade?" And I said, "Sweetheart, I hope there is." And so on that Sunday, for the final, it was hot. It was about 95 degrees. It was rather warm. The Italian club where my father and myself were members at was packed. They probably have license to have 100 people in the building. There had to be almost 200 people in the building. It was wall to wall, and it was my entire family. My wife, who was pregnant with our second daughter, and my daughter and myself and my father were all in the room. And when Italy won the match, and actually Franklin Avenue, they had actually closed off part of the street. They brought a tractor trailer out, which had like 100-foot widescreen TV on it. And people were standing in the streets in the middle of the day in the summer watching the game. And when Italy won the World Cup and they finally won, that same parade that I talked about broke out for hours, Ben. It was hours of people driving up and down the street and waving flags and fireworks and everything. And to this day, I still believe it's one of the biggest parades that has ever happened in the city of Hartford. And keep in mind, this is Italy winning the World Cup. It's not the United States. This is Italy won it.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. So like you said, you really need to. And my daughter, even though she was 3, still remembers that day. So like you said, you really, if your team has a chance or the opportunity to win that trophy, you really want to make it special, because you never know when that will come again, or if it will ever come again. And it's the kind of memories that will last a lifetime. So that's why I think you and I are so excited to do our show next week.
Of course. I mean, like I was saying, luckily for us, at the end of this year, obviously when we close up the seasons and everything's sorted out, and we say our, obviously we'll have a transfer one before the start of the season, but that's spaced that month in between, Joe, when we leave it alone. But then we're going to be bang on to the World Cup, so we'll be with you. We'll try and get a couple of shows in. I mean, we'll probably get 4 shows in, Joe, maybe 5 shows in during the World Cup. We'll try and pick a day when it's a game that we're not involved in, Joe. But yeah, it's something that you just can't comprehend. I mean, obviously I've never seen England win the World Cup. I'm not even 30 yet, so it was 1966 last time England won the World Cup. So
And I'm lucky enough to have
yeah,
seen
it's
Italy win
amazing.
it twice. So
That's what I mean. But then I think you're about 5 years older than me, Joe, and so
yeah,
yeah. No, but
so
seriously, it's amazing, and I really do feel sorry for the teams that don't that realistically will never get a chance to probably win the World Cup. So just to be there and have a chance, you just don't see anything like it. This is like when this happens. I remember thinking the same thing every year. I remember thinking, how can you not be a football world? How can you not like football? How can this not be part of your life? People say to me, "Oh yeah, Ben, you're not religious," and you say, "Well, Blackburn's a religion. When England's a religion. When you watch it, it is. You all want the same thing, and trust me, there is. You get to that stage when it goes to penalties, and there's more praying in a pub than you've ever seen in a church. It's ridiculous. The stuff is crazy.
this is
Um,
true.
but yeah, it's brilliant, like Joe says. But obviously, Joe's experienced it. But yeah, we'll all work you. We'll walk you all through the World Cup, and we'll see the passion go through, Joe. And obviously, if England go out, then obviously I have to cheer on Italy. I can't. I can't.
There you go. So all right, let's take it over to our last segment of the night, and and really I didn't plan for too much on this segment. I don't have normally and just to give the people listening an idea, Ben and I come up with a game plan for the week, and we'll have some type of story. Then we'll have a link so that he and I can read on it. This week in Sir Bob's Man City Corner, there was no link. I really wanted to talk about the fact that 2 weeks ago when we last did our show, we talked about the potential, the possibility of Man City winning 4 trophies this year, 4 trophies. And we come back 2 weeks later and they're down to two. They're down to the Premier League and what is it, the FA Cup, I believe, right? That they're still in, or no, I'm wrong. No, I'm sorry. They won the Capital One Cup already,
Yeah, they've
and
won the Capital one year,
so
and
they've
obviously
got
the title
one.
race.
And the best they can do is add the Premier League onto it. So,
Hmm.
you know, just kind of a recap. Let's obviously we talked about their loss to Barcelona and being eliminated from the Champions League. Um, Partially expected. We probably thought we were going to see a better showing out of them going into the fixture, but also keep in mind the fact that they didn't have Sergio Aguero for the first match, so that certainly hurts them. Aguero being such a talent. Um, but explain Wigan.
I did actually do a bit of a rant on this, Joe. So I'm gonna rant away, and then you can pipe in.
Mhm.
I do, like you said, I do think the Barcelona game is always going to be a tough ask. Even before the first game was played. Whichever way you look at it, Barcelona are still a superior team at this moment in time. Albeit not by a humongous gap, but they are even on paper. And then when you add in the amount of experience that this Barcelona team has got in the Champions League, I don't think Man City, even before a ball was kicked, was ever in a favourable position to win the Champions League. With the way the draw went, the only way for me they was ever going to be in a favourable position is with a favourable draw. So, that for me, like I said, maybe they expected more, but with the Aguero thing, I don't think you can look at it. It's not as bad as it's made out to be. Not for me. I don't think they should be looking at that and thinking we're miles and miles apart. Because I really don't think they are. Now talking about Wigan, Joe, I do think as far as the Wigan game goes, these things do happen over a 90-minute period. I did say it a little bit earlier. Upsets do happen. It's what makes football fun. It's unpredictable over 90 minutes. That's why leagues are played over 38 games. And it's not the end of the world. Yes, it is a trophy that they lost, of course, and that it's awful, and they want to win everything they can put in the cabinet. But if you look at the flip side of the coin of that, there's a silver lining, possibly even a slice of luck. They've now they've got 3 league games to catch up on. And now they don't have the Champions League or the FA Cup, so all they have to focus on is the Premier League. So can they win the Premier League? Yeah, of course they can win the Premier League. This is the last thing that they have to concentrate on. Their squad, the only stress and strain that's going to go on this Man City squad now is going to be Premier League stress and strain. They can focus all their attention on it. And they're going to be well rested week to week. Obviously, they've got to get these games out of the way. I know there's 10 games left and say, okay, 3 weeks, they're not going to be rested. But the other 7 weeks, they get that bit of extra rest over, say, comparison to Chelsea, who quite possibly got a Champions League quarter-final. They could have a Champions League quarter-final on their minds, and then maybe a semi. You don't know. So I do think that the players and Pellegrini are good enough and are experienced enough. And the one thing I've been saying of late, and I actually said this to Joe on the last show, is this Man City team looks more mature than it did earlier on in the season when we was talking about, are they going to keep losing away? Can they shut this up? Are they mature enough? This came up, and me and Joe talked about it every week. But this team looks mature now. I mean, they get beat, they get knocked out of the Champions League, they lose to Wigan, they go to Hull and lose a man in 10 minutes. Now, a team that is not mature and a team that hasn't forgot the fact that they've gone out of 2 trophies within the space of a week could have crumpled there, could have only took a point, but they didn't. It looked mature. They went out, they got the job done, and they kept themselves in the title race. Now, that for me, this could be a silver lining, Joe. I mean, obviously you try and look for the best out of bad situations, but I don't know. Do you think this has a bearing? Do you think Chelsea, if they have one eye on the Champions League, this could be what Man City need to give them that edge?
I agree. This could be the stumbling block for them. This could be something where, like you said, Man City now has 1 trophy. They have 1 object. They have games at hand. They have fixtures in place that they can go and play and catch up. And Chelsea doesn't have that. Chelsea has an eye on the Champions League. Chelsea has an eye on the Premier League. There's a lot of focus. It's going to be on Mourinho to keep these guys focused, healthy, fresh, where Pellegrini really doesn't have to do much. He says, okay, guys, go play on Saturday. Okay, guys, go play on Saturday. Okay, guys, go play on Saturday. And focus on nothing but the game on Saturday. And I think that's for the quality that Man City has on the pitch, it's a huge, huge, huge advantage for Pellegrini to be able to just focus in one spot. It's kind of the same thing we talked about with Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich's division is wrapped up. They're done. They could lose every match, I think, from here on out and still win the division. So what do they have to focus on? They have to focus on Champions League. That's the only match they care about. And Pep Guardiola's idea or his goal is to keep everybody fresh, keep everybody healthy, and keep everybody in shape to accomplish that goal. It's the exact same thing for Pellegrini. Keep everybody fresh, keep everybody in shape, and keep them focused on winning the Premier League. And even though he's quote unquote 6 points behind, I think Pellegrini's in a perfect spot. And maybe you don't want to say that losing to Barcelona was the best thing that could happen, but it wasn't bad. It's not as bad as it appears to be. And think about it. Man City, let's say they beat Barcelona, they're going to have to go through Real Madrid, they're going to have to go through Bayern Munich, they're going to have to go through PSG, who's playing incredibly well. It was not going to be in the cards for them to move on and win. Do you know what I mean? There was too much good ahead of them. So what's next? Unfortunately, they lost to Wigan. And like you said, these things happen. Like my father would say, letdown, which means the ball is round, meaning it can bounce any way. And Wigan took advantage again to beat them. So they could have made it 3, and I think realistically they should have made it 3. But now we're down to 1 option left. We're down to the Premier League. And you know what? That's the only option on the table. It's the only thing we need to focus on. And right now, we're in great shape to win it. So I think the silver lining on this cloud is certainly apparent that losing to Barcelona allows them to stay fresh, stay healthy. Aguero, I think they've been trying to bring Aguero back too soon. He picked up a couple of knocks because of it. Now we don't have to worry about that. We have a match against Fulham. Okay, we can bench Aguero. We can sit him. We can rest him. We have a match coming up against one of the lesser teams, West Brom. Okay, fine. Let's sit him. Let's get him some rest. And let's make sure that he's healthy moving into that Man United fixture. Let's make sure he's healthy moving into that Arsenal fixture. and the matches that really do count where it's a 6-point match. So I think that without being too long-winded, I think this is certainly one of the better silver linings to a dark cloud.
Yeah, just wanted to say quickly, just got another sentence or so, but yeah, Manchester City are actually favourites, Joe. Only slight favourites, but I do think that the fact that like you said, they've got nothing else to focus on. They deserve to be marginal favourites. Obviously with the games in hand. But one thing that I've been saying, I started saying a couple of weeks ago, the biggest improvement you'll see from this Man City team within the next year, within the next couple of years, is not going to come from players that they buy. It's going to come from experience and team chemistry, exactly like the United team that dominated for a decade. So don't get me wrong, Man City, will they win the league this year? Maybe, maybe they could do. I mean, I think they're right to be favourites, but I do think it's still like pretty much a coin flip. I do think 3 games, you'd rather have the points on the board. It's close. It's very close, and you flick a coin whichever way it lands. But whatever happens this season, this is still really, really exciting times to see, because I think you start this City team again from the beginning of the season, and they take this Chelsea team and they win this league. So mark my words, next year and the years to come, they're really, really exciting for anyone affiliated to City, and I think they are the best team in the Premier League. And whether it's too late because of what they did in the beginning of the season, I don't think you would see quite as much complacency from this team now, if they could take it back. And this has come through experience. This has come through gelling. This has come from learning to play with each other. And they're going to take all that into next season. So as long as Pellegrini's got the right head on him, should the worst happen and they finish second, we'll just say second for argument's sake, if he can keep those players in the right frame of mind going into next season, I think you see City win this league, and I think you see them win it quite comfortably.
I agree. Also, the one other thing I wanted to point out is I would say Man City's the big brother in Manchester now, don't you think?
Oh yeah, I do. I really do. I think they've proved that now. It takes a little bit of time. I mean, I don't think if I know Everton were above Liverpool for a bit, and but this is it now. They're the real deal now. And they've got a world-class manager, a world-class setup that, they've just had an expansion for the seating. This, for me, this Man City team it's just onwards and upwards, really. I mean, and, every journey starts with a step. So, you get a trophy this year or whatever, you have a decent run in the FA Cup, second in the Premier League, and then you build. And then next season, maybe you take FA Cup, which is a bigger trophy, and then you win the league, and maybe you get to the quarterfinals of Champions League, and then you build and you get on this, and you keep the same base of players whilst bringing in 1 or 2. This is what Man United did, and they did it right. They did it right, and they showed they did it right, and they dominated for 10 years. And this is what Man City potentially, assuming the backroom staff and they keep this same solid foundation, there's no reason why they can't do it as well, Joe. So,
all right, let's hit the closing music and go over some final thoughts. Let's do that. One thing I do want to mention is that the blogs, not the blogs, but the archives have really taken shape. If you go to YouTube and search Low Limit Football, you'll have episodes 9 through 20, and by this time tomorrow night, you'll have this episode as well. So, coming back next week, we'll be back on Monday again, and like I said, big show. Just talking to Jeff Douglas on Twitter, and it looks like he might be coming on for us next week. And Ben, you said you had a friend from England who was a Spurs fan that wanted to come on as well. So
yeah, we're going to try and get Alfie on, and if we can, we're going to get him to speak a little bit about England as well, and we're going to move the World Cup section up and talk about it early, because obviously the time difference, I'm 4 hours ahead of you guys. So.
Right, so what we'll do is we'll probably roll with the Spurs talk to start, and then we'll jump right into our World Cup and then hit the leagues as well. So Ben, any other closing thoughts?
No, I'm just really looking forward to next week, so that I can preview the England and Italy. It just it's something that we're both passionate about, so we'll do a big show.
Exactly. So next week we'll probably announce the time on Twitter, on Facebook, and and at the Poker Forum site as well. I don't know if we're going to be going at 7 or at 6. We're going to probably chat with our guests and find out when they can make it. So, again, Ben, thank you for coming on again. I am Joe Usello.
And I'm Ben Shane.
And you were listening to episode 21 of Low Limit Football on Low Limit Poker Radio. Thank you and good night.
Thanks for listening.